All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. All right, are we there? Okay, we are firing up. Just the last little struggle before we get in tonight. It is what it is. Pause. But, we're going to blame the late start on IT. I guess maybe not the cutting the microphone cord there. I guess we could still blame them. It is what it is. But we got to blame them for breaking the internet, and we had to reset that. So push the start time back a little bit there. But we're firing up now. And I guess it was our fault eventually as well, too, because I went to pull up the Instagram to get the folder with all of the pod topics in it pulled up. And let's just say that, shout out. We have a shout out. We had a server at the restaurant that just moved away. And make no mistake, we definitely may have stalked their Instagram page. Should we be admitting this at the start, chat? I don't know. I mean, even if we don't admit it, guess what? We're all stalking somebody's Instagram page at some point. It is what it is. So, and then it gives you like the little like suggestions of like who you should follow at some point, or like I guess it does that on mobile as well too. But I guess it does that also, whenever you log in Instagram on the computer. But it has it on the side. And I guess there was a profile pic update. So, and then I looked at the clock, was like, wait a second, we got to start the pod. How long have we been staring at this profile pic? But we're here now. So we're live. We're going on a Tuesday night and waiting for, I guess, also the NFL season. We need the NFL season back bad, chat. It is what it is. We're getting lost in the weeds on the algorithm. But maybe it's a good thing. The folder with the pod topics and it wouldn't load, so maybe it's a good thing. We need to just watch some classic basketball games, chat. Hey, it is what it is. Is this the pivot here? We got the WNBA on in the background. We're an ally, chat. Hey, we're trying our best. We got it fired up. Just a little late night WNBA hoops going on. A little Sparks versus the Mercury. I almost said the Sun, but the Spark versus the Mercury. And I guess the Sun is also a W team, but not the one currently playing. And unfortunately, I guess no Kelsey Plum tonight. Of course, would have been the revenge game for her most recent team trade from the Sparks to the Mercury. But I guess, we'll have to wait for the next rematch for that to happen, whether I guess it's this season or next. And I guess I don't know if she's a free agent, so because I don't know if she would re-sign with the Mercury. They haven't, wouldn't be the best record this year. It is what it is. Shout out. I think the quote. We say ring chasing again. Ring chasing obviously doesn't have the same, the same harshness to it that it did in the past. That was like a diss. You go, oh, this guy's ring chasing. I can't believe that he's joining a team. And obviously, I guess if a team that's not your own gets too super powered, then it is going to be annoying to have that happen in the league. So you don't want that if it's not your own team. But again, like ring chasing, if you just say that for a player, I think it means. I guess it can mean two different things as well too. It's obviously, like we're saying, the overpowering opportunity, but then there is still the balance of it. Like we all understand, you still are going to search out winning opportunities as well too. And I guess, we just got to do random second apron topics in the summer, right? I guess we do have NFL training camp. There is some news here we will get to. We got the headlines here in the right corner. So, we obviously got stuff to address for the sports world here, but just random second apron topics, because I did see a short on, speaking of being on the algorithm, I saw a short of a sports related topic, chat, on Instagram. Mostly sports on Instagram. But yeah, right. But what are we saying? For this one was sports, and it was Charles Barkley talking. It was him and Simmons on Simmons's pod talking, and it was Barkley doing a defense of the second apron, saying that, it is obviously something that, like, from, his statement, not quoting it exactly, but he's like, it's something that Silver had to do because, and I think Barkley, again, obviously there is different feelings from it all the way around, pause, because he's gonna view it from, what, I guess, and, again, I'm not saying this from a bad way for how he's viewing it, but he's gonna view it for the thing that he never did. In some ways, like Barkley could have joined the Bulls. I don't know if that's a contract possibility, but I guess just, the basketball hypothetical of it. Like, he played Jordan. He was, he won the MVP of the league in '93. So it's a little similar to, the Steph Curry Durant dynamic, where I guess, Durant was still playing at that MVP level. Durant, I guess, Curry was the MVP in the season, if that would have been the Jordan comparison for going to the team. But, Durant was the MVP, obviously, before Curry was a couple of seasons there. And, in in that Western Conference Finals, obviously they were up 3-1. There is that possibility, that timeline where Durant is the quote unquote better player in the season because of the way that the playoff happens, even though, again, obviously just the incredibleness of what Curry was that year. But, and, again, Barkley, was awesome in the 90s. Hot take, Barkley was an awesome basketball player, but he never did do that, obviously. He never did go, join the Bulls. There is, I guess, no other option to join in the 90s other than the Bulls. If he, I guess, he was the 80. He was the 84 drafts as well too, right? Him and Jordan both, I guess, but and Hakeem obviously as well too, and Stockton maybe as well. A couple other guys, obviously, historic, but yeah, I think Barkley was, is one of the historic names that is in that class. But what are we saying for the 80s? Obviously, you could have had a couple of teams there. I guess we go back and double check the Philly timeline and see how that worked out with him going to that team there, because that would have been one of the teams at one point in the 80s that you would have obviously had wanted to go to with Dr. J, with Moses Malone, but you would have at least had the what do you say, the Magic and the Magic on the Lakers and the Celtics as well too. Yeah, I guess we got to throw the rest in peace out there for Don Nelson, the second winningest coach in NBA history, one of the five greatest coaches in NBA history in 2021. So, obviously, again, a great presence in the, from a winning standpoint in the league there, and a player coach as well, not player coach, but player and a coach, I guess, over his career. So just the, the commitment to the game of basketball, obviously, just the lifelong NBA type guy. Rest in peace, obviously. Shout out to the, the family there. What are we saying for the 80s basketball? Again, it's like if Barkley joins the Celtics or the Lakers, it could be either or for winning a title, best opportunity there for either of those teams. I guess, does Barkley on the Jazz shift the power of the NBA at that point? It definitely could have a little bit. And, again, and, that Suns team was pretty good. They have all-stars. Kevin Johnson's kind of a borderline Hall of Famer. Tom Chambers is pretty good. But, again, it's not one of the best teams that's ever made the finals. It's definitely one of the, great player seasons, getting people to the finals. Obviously, again, just Barkley taking that team there, I think does get a little underrated that even, he got to the finals in some ways. Jimmy, and I guess Jimmy Butler did go to 2 finals. So, again, you do have to, I guess, give him extra credit. But, again, you view it through Jimmy Butler's career lens. I don't know if, again, it is the draft stuff. It is just the perception of the first team All-NBAs in the league, where, again, Barkley's a little bit more there. Jimmy Butler's still a great player, but maybe he hovers around, third team All-NBA. So when he pops off in the playoffs at that extra level, it's that quote unquote more impressive. I don't know. But, again, he makes 2 finals, and it is that, that crowning achievement that really does help elevate him to that extra level. And obviously making the finals does help Barkley as well too. But, again, it just doesn't get viewed that way, where it's Barkley, he just doesn't get viewed as that championship level guy. I think he does, but, again, obviously, the point was from the player logistic moving standpoint of it. Again, obviously, like we're saying, he was the MVP of the league in 92, 93. If he joins and I guess he got traded from Philly to Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was a free agency type thing. But, again, we're just saying the hypothetical of it all. Obviously, the league was different back then, even the way that players thought. But, again, Barkley is going to be if Barkley does go to the Bulls, obviously, just the easy math there is Barkley does have a title. So I think Barkley looks, maybe just the galaxy brain thought of it all is, Barkley looks back at the league and it's yes, I could have, in a sense, won a title. In a way, he's yes, all of these great players can, easily win a title if they all just join up. And it's that's not the point. The point is to go out there and, try to, I guess, be the best. Iron sharpens iron. I guess, iron sharpens iron. So you have to be on the same team, I guess, for maybe that quote to work out. I don't know. But, again, obviously, like we're saying, Barkley just never had the join up situation. And when he did, finally go there in Houston, it was a little bit that's almost the way that the career did work out for players before that. Again, that is one of those things that gets thrown back at him a little bit, where if he does say those types of things, players now are like, oh, Barkley went to go play with Hakeem in Houston. And, again, you could say the timeline stuff. But like we're saying, that's what would happen is you would have your run, I guess, maybe even you bounce around. I'm just thinking like 70s and 80s, you would see, I'm thinking like Bob McAdoo, just being on this, I guess a lot of guys being on the Celtics, but, they had Bob McAdoo there for a while. They had Bill Walton there for a while. It's like, okay, you have your run as your lead guy on your franchise, you do your thing, and then when it kind of falls off a little bit, you go join a team. Okay, I guess speaking of guys in the 90s, obviously, Malone and Gary Payton both did this on the Lakers, and I guess Payton did also go to Miami as well too afterwards. But again, it makes sense. It's like, okay, they're role guys. They're not going to carry the franchise in the same way. They're going to go need to team up with stars. Like Barkley was getting to that point. So that was, again, a little bit more logistical, even though, he does have the All-Star there in Houston as well, too. And I think there was still some expectations, again, for that maybe to work out a little bit better than it did. But, again, I think there is going to be a little bit of just the what if. I guess, some guys, maybe you could look at this through like NIL as well too for NCAA, where it's like, are some people maybe, and I don't know if like, players in a sense are against the modern players getting NIL. I think this is maybe a bad example, but I guess, again, is there a player that would be against it? And it's like secretly, obviously it's like, well, okay, if they, they didn't have it back in the day, is it one of those things? But, again, like Barkley is going to be more a fan of that because that's just what he did at the time. And again, that's obviously maybe what players did more as well too. But it is also a little bit true as well too. Like, I guess if left unchecked, if it was like a baseball situation, I mean, not to say that the Dodgers win every year, but it maybe baseball does work out a little bit differently in terms of, again, just how I'm not a baseball guy. So just the impact of getting those star players, again, is a little bit different. Obviously, the totality of it, you need more, the depth and the pitching, again, I don't even know. But you just, it seems like every trade deadline, they're making the big moves. And I guess in some ways you do have, and maybe it was a little bit like this before as well, too. It's like, okay, the Lakers are going to make their move. But it wasn't like, always bringing in a star player. Maybe it was a little bit more of a bigger contract, the player value name kind of, fall off a little bit there as well, too. Because I'm even thinking this trade deadline, again, I don't even really know what was going on in baseball and who this player that the Dodgers got was. I just know that, well, I guess they said maybe he won like a Cy Young award recently. Was it even last year? So they got him from the other league. Again, it's like he's like the Eastern Conference MVP of last year. So then now they have the Eastern Conference. It'd be like, I guess if Jaylen Brown was traded to the Spurs. And it's like, okay, Wemby and the Eastern, or I guess Jaylen Brown wasn't the Eastern Conference MVP last year. I guess if Brunson was traded to the Spurs, which would be crazy. I do like the sound of that, chat. That would be nice. But I guess, who do we have to give up? If it's like, Dylan Harper for Brunson, hey, I don't think Spurs fans are not doing that, obviously, after Brunson, just won the title over us. We're not falling for the Durant Curry pat there. Again, obviously that's, not a free agency thing there, but even if there was, the timeline, I guess you looked at, you're like, is Dylan Harper ever going to be, I mean, there is obviously the possibility. We really hope he is. And it does seem like he has a great future, obviously, off to a better start than Jalen Brunson AO. But I mean, Jalen Brunson just was the best player in the league and won a title. So again, I guess could Dylan Harper be a title impact player? Of course, but will he ever be obviously as good as Jalen Brunson? Again, that's obviously just a very high bar to get to. Obviously, it's a shout out to Jalen Brunson. But Spurs fans, we're not doing that. We're too petty. We want to run this crew back and pause. And obviously, hopefully that this is the core that can be the title contending core. And I guess not to go into a Spurs rabbit hole here, but they were showing a Hard Knocks promo. Also, speaking of scrolling Instagram, not before this was earlier, but a Hard Knocks promo with, maybe this would have been in the tab with all the stuff in it, but it was Mitch Johnson talking to Mike McDonald. I guess the Seahawks are on Hard Knocks this year, and I guess they're bringing in Mitch Johnson to talk about success and championship, obviously championship team building and all different stuff. The clip was like, even Wemby's getting, clicks for the NFL. Because the clip was like, oh, Mitch Johnson brought in to talk about what it's like to coach Wembanyama to the Seahawks. Like, I don't really know how that's going to translate to, like, Devon's like, oh, Devon Witherspoon's like Wembanyama out there. I guess there could be some correlations, but It's like, okay, Mitch Johnson, tell the Spurs how great, or tell the Seahawks how great Wembanyama is. I mean, I'll watch the speech and it'll be great. But just in terms of for what it means for the Seahawks, I don't know. Again, I think it'll be good for Mitch Johnson. Obviously, the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl, so just be it in championship environments, is good, I guess, to see there. But I guess we'll have to see, obviously I'm sure there's more, obviously, to what Mitch Johnson's gonna, impart there from leadership and all that different stuff. But if it's like, okay, now Mitch Johnson's in front of the team, you drafted Wembanyama, and what was that like? And I guess the players probably have their own questions as well too. But everybody's talking about Wembanyama. But what are we saying again? I guess we're trying to talk about the second apron. I don't even know anymore. The point is, I guess the point is there is like I don't know if it's 70-30, but there is like a 20%, the idea of what the second apron is trying to enforce, obviously. Maybe that's what it is. Again, was the second apron obviously the best enforcement of it? And I guess, I'm not the economics. I don't even know what you call them. Economist? Is it an economist? An economist? An ecologist? That might be something else, though. I'm not sure. But Mike, I'm not an economist. I don't really know how the league goes. But, again, obviously there is some harshness with the second apron. That is tough. But, it is one of those things, too. At the end of the day, and I guess, yes, trades are fun. If the trade deadline is more active in the NBA, there is just a sports talk, entertainment in the news cycle value that does present. But from a team building standpoint, it's like there is still a way to build a team. Like a team is still going to win the title every year. Hot take. Hey, it still has to happen. So it's like the path is still there. Again, it's obviously, are the dynamics of it going to be different than in the past? Obviously, but again, if it's going to be the idea of capping out how many max contract players that a team can have, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And now again, once the Spurs, we're fortunate right now again that a lot of these people are on rookie contracts. Wembanyama just signed the max deal, but took a little bit off the max deal, so maybe it makes it a little bit more flexible. They go out and get Tobias Harris, I guess, because of it as well too. So it's all it's a great team building thing as well too. And if the Spurs, if it does hurt, obviously, pause, that is going to be I guess part of just they drafted a great team. They're going to obviously have to pay the team. But it's like, okay, the Thunder did just pay the team. Yes, of course, the depth does hurt a little bit. Is a team going to be perfect every time and nailing, the 27th pick in the draft, and now he's a rotational guy even every year? Again, that bar sometimes doesn't even get eclipsed as well too. It's not a bad thing. And sometimes obviously the guy that you didn't expect, pops out as well too and is productive. But it's like, okay, walking that fine line for winning a title was I guess it wasn't something that you could do, because you could just, if you were just a good team, you could just replenish, or like we're saying, overpay maybe a little bit for a veteran guy like that in some ways, or just the access to some of the minimum dollars was a little bit more as well too, some more like player exceptions and things like that. But it's like, okay, I do, the point is, I guess I do see obviously like we're saying, where Charles Barkley would be approaching that sentiment of like the second apron is good for the league. And it's like, okay, it does divide the talent out. The talent, it does seem like, there is a decent core in kind of every team right now. I guess, you go like maybe Brooklyn, Sacramento, again, are we going like 27 for 30 for decent cores? That's still pretty good. Hey, and, just to have, again, for the ticketing purposes of it, people going to the games, again, throwing on League Pass at night. Let me just throw on a random game. Like, there is a watchability, of course, to the league now. The league is as watchable as it's ever been. But again, from a storyline standpoint, obviously the storyline stuff was, and you could obviously criticize the league for, again, implementing it in the first place and being this extreme. But I think that was, that type of outside thing is a little bit maybe more difficult to predict, because again, it is accomplishing what they want to do on the basketball. They're like, let's really just, I don't know, what's the appropriate term to use in 2026. They're like, let's just really lay down the law, I guess, and, really restrict all the movements, of course, for what these teams can do. And it's like, yes, that works. The teams can't make trades. The teams can't stack players. The talent is spread out. but the league is also a little bit more boring. And there is obviously other things that factor into that as well too. There is like the foul stuff that was a topic for a while as well. But I guess we do partially agree with Charles Barkley. I guess we do somewhat agree with Charles Barkley. Again, the Spurs are in the good era of it right now. Everybody's on a rookie contract. So once the actual side effects of the second apron start to hit San Antonio, then we'll really let you know how we feel about how that goes. But, again, as of right now, we are able to navigate it. Dylan Harper's contract is very favorable. Stephen Castle's not quite up for an extension quite yet. Again, we just got a couple of veterans under the books for, the next couple of years, try to help with the championship run. So, again, we're the Thunder. We're at the last couple of years. We're like, oh, the Thunder, the Thunder are going to be good for the next 15 years. And now it's like, does anybody even care about Thunder anymore? I mean, they do. Of course, they're obviously a, high-powered team still. But they're not the vaunted, how do we get past this team? They're, our unstoppable force in the Western Conference. It looked like, not to motivate them incredibly as we go into the offseason here, as we just sit here randomly on a Tuesday night with, as the Thunder for some reason decided to have a team meeting and pull the REMINGTOM live stream up right at the moment where we're like, and then the Thunder were no good this year. And they're like, now we're just going to, start training camp early and get out there because the Spurs fans are motivating us, so hopefully the Spurs fans or the Spurs team, I guess, is also in a live meeting, I guess, motivated. I'm picturing a montage, a sports movie montage, and the Spurs. It's like a tree, a tree, a Creed training scene. I merged the words there, and we got tree out of it. Do we just say like shout out to Tree Rollins? I guess just to throw that out there. His name was Tree, but. It's like a Creed training scene. There we go. And I'm thinking of specifically Creed 2, where they have the dueling training scenes, where Creed is in, I don't remember who he fights, but Creed's in like Mexico, or maybe he's in like that like, I guess, is it like neutral territory in California? I don't know what that resort area down there is, Tijuana or something like that. But that also might be somebody that is in the neighborhood. I'm not sure, but. Again, it's like a Creed's in the desert, and then the one guy's in like the ice bath, and it's like, okay, we got that. I see the Thunder. I guess the Thunder would probably be in the desert, right? Because the Thunder is like the fire, but San Antonio, I guess, so it's like dual desert scenes, I guess, instead of like a fire and ice situation. It's like fire and fire, but or fire and. I guess I don't know what the Spurs element would. I guess the Spurs don't. They're not. They're. I guess fire and metal. I guess earth, I don't know, but so I don't know what the metal like a concrete training facility maybe would be is what we're talking. I don't know. We're kind of overthinking it now at this point, but yeah, I guess that's second apron talk for a Tuesday. Shout out to Charles Barkley, but I don't know what else we got here for headlines to kick us off on a Tuesday night. Do we have Little League World Series news, chat? Tulsa kept from a chance at Little League World Series bid, judge rules. Oh no, controversy at the Little League World Series. It's make no mistake, it's been dominating ESPN this summer. I feel like when I was into the Little League World Series back in the day, and it was like a must-see sporting event for us. I was like, I can't wait for the summer to roll around because the Little League World Series is going to be on. We're going to watch this. I feel like it'd be over in like 2 weeks. And now it's just like this is like gone on longer than the World Cup almost. The Little League World Series, like so many. There's like watching the qualifiers and regional qualifiers. It's like it's like Olympic coverage where you're tuning in and you're like, oh, did America just win gold? And you're like, no, they didn't even qualify yet. This is like heat 2 of 104. And you're like, wait a second, there's a lot of rounds to go in this swimming competition before we actually get there. It's like this Little League Series is even worse than that this year. And I guess I actually think that what I think they are just broadcasting more games as well too, because it was, I think it was just the guys being shown on TV back in the day. So maybe just rip through that tournament. I don't know. But again, there's just a lot. It seems like it's been going on. It's like NFL training camp. It's like I actually kind of want to see some training camp footage, and I'm watching Nevada versus Utah Little League World Series games on. It's like I thought this is what ESPN2 was for. Like how is Kornheiser and Wilbon on PTI behind the Little League World Series? Yeah, but I mean, that's gonna be the biggest controversy of the pod. Chat. Rem and Sam Pod said said the Little League World Series should move to ESPN too. I'm just saying some of the games. Hey, yo. I'm just saying, like, again, we got WNBA on, right? We got WNBA on NBA TV. Like, what do we got? Regional WNBA coverage, and we got national Little League World Series. But I guess, again, the Little League World Series is, it's a big event. Hey, yo. But the refs, chat, they're at it again. The refs, they can't even ref a Little League World Series game. A Texas judge? Whoa, this went to court. Whoa, chat, but wait a second. I mean, the bias is in the first sentence, chat. Hey, yo. I don't know if, who we got writing this article. Anthony Olivieri. I mean, shout out to Anthony Olivieri for covering the Little League World Series reffing controversy. But he's just, what a thesis statement right in the first sentence. A Texas judge backed a decision to remove a Tulsa, Oklahoma team? Hey, yo. Imagine, I mean, obviously, I guess not obviously. Obviously, a sports pod obviously is broadcast out of the state of Iowa, but we're broadcasting out of the state of Iowa, live from Iowa right now. But if it was like an Iowa judge ruled that a Nebraska team could no longer advance in the Little League World Series, like, wait a second, that doesn't seem, seems a little suspicious there. Michigan judge rules that Ohio team should be disqualified from the Little League World Series. Like, do we, I mean, I would agree with the ruling, but maybe if I was an Ohio fan, I'd want the ruling in a different court. So I don't know how the Texas Oklahoma team got the Tulsa Oklahoma team. I don't know how they got the ruling in a Texas court. But the corruption goes all the way to the Little League World Series. It's crazy. It says a team from the Southwest region, it kept playing Tuesday's championship for a berth in the Little League World Series, according to the statement from the Little League spokesperson. And yeah, I guess is it Williamsburg that they play it at? We haven't even gotten to Williamsburg yet. Hey, yo. Little League Baseball on Monday determined that a player was ineligible and removed from Tulsa National from the region, deeming its previous game a forfeit. Later on Monday, parents of the player and on the team filed and were granted temporary restraining order from the 414th District Court in Texas, allowing Tulsa to play against West Texas for the title. So I guess, they got to play, shout out. But the Little League, it says Little League Baseball then asked the court to vacate the order, which the 414th District Court did on Tuesday. Wow, Chad, this is it's like an Aaron Sorkin movie. Hey, yo, it's like we got corporations all over the Little League Baseball organizations getting involved, Texas district judges. Oh, man, we're going to need a detective, a noir detective to go into town and figure out what's going on, the corruption in Texas, I guess, hey, yo. The Judge Ryan Luna wrote that the court considered the motion, the arguments of the counsel, and all the other matters properly before it. So there we go. Do we get an actual court scene? I guess we could dramatize the movie and have an actual court scene where they're I guess I need to watch a court movie. I don't know. I'm my knowledge right now on the terminology is really low. Hey, yo, because I guess opening statements. You got your opening statements and closing arguments. But I guess, objection. Hey, yo, I need to catch up on, what else do you say in a court movie? But I guess, we get a couple of court scenes would be good. I guess, we're going to need more. It's not like a 12 Angry Men, just they go into a room and then argue about the ruling for the baseball judge. And then, Henry Fonda's got to change everybody's mind, I guess, about what's going on. But it says, we appreciate the court's timely decision and consider the decision to vacate the temporary restraining order. Hey, the Little League Baseball organization is not playing around. They said this team is out of here. As a result, West Texas, represented by a team from the Bourne Little League. Whoa, not spelled Jason Bourne, but still, I guess, kind of sounds the same. Secured the region's berth in next week's international tournament at South Williamsport, Pennsylvania, with a victory 4-1 over Louisiana. Tulsa defeated Louisiana earlier in the tournament. Hey, yo. So it says, okay, the player identified in the courts as OG. Oh, chat. Hey, yo. OG is ineligible based on wrong. He's an OG. He's just too old, chat. It is what it is. OG is ineligible based on wrong birth year, entered on behalf of his sibling, through whom OG maintained his eligibility. Chat, we've got a case of, this is like a Hitchcock film. We've got a case of false identity. over here. We got like it's like Vertigo. They're like it's like Body Doublers. So I guess that's De Palma. But hey, yo, I guess we got to be careful with the comparisons we're throwing out there. But it's like just like having the second or like the Prestige. I guess maybe that one, we'll sit on that one. That's a spoiler. Hey, just forget we said that if you haven't seen the Prestige yet. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything. It's the first scene of the movie. But hey, yo, we've got like a younger sibling. He's taken the identity of the sibling to play for the tournament. I'm honestly surprised this hasn't happened before. Hey, yo, I mean, I guess you would say like in social media era, oh, how could you get away with it? But, again, who is really checking? Like, I'm not watching ESPN going, oh, wait a second, like, oh, is that the twin brother? Like, I think, that's actually Trey, and I think, the other one should be out there. I guess there would be maybe like a person that was at a little league game and then is watching the game on ESPN and they're doing the DiCaprio meme and they're like, wait a second, that's the older brother at that point. But again, on a scale, like I think you would be able to get away with it because these aren't like real baseball teams. It's not like we're like, oh, the fantasy baseball league for little league baseball. Like we don't know what these teams are, and I guess it is it is just the randomness of who can obviously ascend through the tournament every year. Like I think I don't even really I never was in the little league baseball system, but I don't even know how is it because it's not like it's like, oh, this city gets their team together. I guess I could be wrong, and maybe some cities do that. They like consolidate some teams to have a stronger chance to some degree. But I kind of got the impression that there was some like, and maybe this is like the movie setting of it as well too. There's like some just like teams that have made it like they're like, this is the little league team that plays together, every Saturday or whatever, and they made it all the way to little league. Again, this could be the plot of a movie that I'm thinking of. I don't know, but I kind of got the impression that that was going on a little bit as well too. But again, I guess it could be the combo of both. I don't know how exactly you just like register a team up for the Little League World Series. But again, like we're saying, who's really gonna know? So I guess. Somebody did there is like a whistleblower here somewhere that somebody did, go to the league, I guess, and be like, hey, I think maybe something's going on. But it says those 13 players. So maybe there's a whole team here. 13 players did not enter the incorrect information. They did not make an eligible. They simply showed up, played baseball, and trusted the adults responsible for administering the program. Oh, so I mean, again, I guess an important part to make, an important distinction to make. Like it's not like the kids were the ones being like, oh, let's put together a team and see if we can make a run at the tournament. Though that would, again, if we're doing a movie, that honestly would be a fun movie. Like I don't know, again, there is the extreme version of it where like, oh, Adam Sandler and Kevin James are gonna pretend they're in the little league again. It's like, okay, like what are we doing here? Like obviously they're not gonna get away with that. But there is like I guess there is like a teen comedy version of it where it's like I guess again I don't even is it through high school to some degree? I'm assuming that maybe not. Maybe it goes up to eighth grade. Maybe it is like 6th through 8th. I don't know, but maybe it would be like some 10th graders that are like no good in their own league. They're just like they never win a game in their regular tournament, but then they decide like, oh, we can cheat, and then they like all have younger siblings, so like we can register as the younger siblings and go to. I guess again we just are rereading the article. But there is, I guess, moving away from the crime thriller version of having to, or more like the Sorkin organizational thriller, I guess, is that what you call it? Or there is a term from the Big Picture, like, rewatchables crew that they have termed for a Sorkin. It's like a dialogue thriller or something like that. I don't know, a word thriller or something. Yeah, again, mostly just in the conversations that the people are having and just the procedure of just these different jobs. But I guess the whole team so yeah, again, like we're saying, it was not a conscious decision by them. And I guess in this version as well too, maybe the comedy version, I guess Adam Sandler is maybe the coach that like talk into it, and then it's like he has to like give some motivating speech at the end. He's like, it doesn't, we still accomplished a lot. It's more about how we, we're together as a team and the goals that we accomplish and things like that. Maybe there's like a consolation game that they win or something like that. Who knows? But, there is a version of it as well, too, of course, where they have like they have like one of the kids on another guy's shoulder, like the big trench coat. And it's like, okay, now we've got a fake coach out there. Maybe 2 kids that aren't going to get in the rotation. They're like, but we'll coach the team. So then maybe, and I guess, it wouldn't be like a full stand, obviously. That's like the animated version of it. Not standing on somebody's shoulder. But if it's a sit down, and that's even more maintainable, obviously, from a balance standpoint. So if you're just like sitting on somebody's shoulders with like a mustache and some glasses and a top hat, just like a classy old, baseball. It's like, okay, I don't know why this baseball coach is dressed like Sherlock Holmes, but I guess that would be the team. The team would just be like the detectives. It'd be like the Southport detect, or I guess Williamsport's the place, but it'd be like the Oklahoma detectives, and then they just have their coach just kind of dressed up like that at that point. I don't know, but it says in a letter to the Tulsa National Little League dated July 7th, Little League International Charter Committee granted OG eligibility based on the sibling relationship. Abbott said that documents that the player's father mistakenly entered the wrong birth year when registering the sibling. Abbott said she learned about it after the state tournament. Oh, well, how fortunate that they made it through to represent their team there. But it says OG's sibling ultimately did not participate in the games necessary to maintain the basis for OG's eligibility. Oh, okay. So so it sounds like OG probably could have played then. So just their presence in general is not too much. It's not like, OG. It's like we look up OG on 24/7 Sports. We're like, wait a second, OG is like the number 17th recruit, and that's how somebody found him. They're like, oh, wait a second, I've seen this guy before. It's like a 5-star, but again, I guess he could have been out there. It's just it's like a 3-second violation in basketball. It's like he has to just have his younger brother on the team for so many games, and as long as he's there, then that counts, I guess. This is once the issue arose, OG's parents withdrew him from the national team tournament before he participating. These protests were filed. The first were filed before the tournament. As we go on, it sounds less and less like they were, doing something crazy. But it says the motion said OG's, but again, it could just be after the fact. They're like, we had no idea what was going on. The motion said OG's father registered sibling as a 7-year-old in the challenger division. The filing said later the father confirmed directly to the Little League officially that the sibling is actually, quote, is actually 10 years old. The motion added, okay, chat, we're back. The motion the motion added, quote, the age misrepresentation rightfully disqualifies the sibling from the under 8 open enrollment provision, which in turn tenders OG ineligible to play for Tulsa National Little League rules. Oh, chat. Yeah. So, I mean, we way over eligible at this point. And I think that, I guess, there is some crossover at that time. There is like the stories of like, oh, this running back was like playing in his Pop Warner league and he had to take his birth certificate to the game because it's like, oh, he was just dominating the league and parents thought it was unfair. So there are, I guess, age discrepancies at that point. But it's like, if you get and again, under 8, I guess if you got like 7-year-olds out there, if you got a 10-year-old out there with 7-year-olds, like that is, I think that could be, pretty, I guess, you'd be crushing home runs off these 7-year-old pitches. Like Shohei Ohtani, just like, 30-mile-an-hour fastballs across the plate. People are like, boom. It's like, whoa, I never saw that. It's like, these kids are barely, have barely removed from hitting off the tee. So now they've got somebody that maybe has like a third pitch in their repertoire at this point, maybe even a fourth. I'm probably underestimating the talent, honestly. But it says an emergency motion said that OG's father said that the sibling never actively participated in any Tulsa National League program or division of play. So I guess there is the possibility that OG is not that good as well too. We've been approaching this whole thing like OG is the problem, but again, sports parents, baseball parents, they don't really care if OG is like 20, 25, 30 points a game from a baseball standpoint. If it's like, okay, every time he's out there, he just doubles and triples every run. It's like, again, OG might not even be batting, but they're just like seeing him on the sideline. And they're just like, I think that this kid is not on the team. Something's going on there. But it's an emergency motion. It says the Little League added, we sincerely hope that those adults entrusted operating the Little League program recognize the responsibility they bear. Oh, chat, they're bad parents is essentially what the Little League is saying. What they bear toward the children, and they act and care accordingly with integrity, fairness, respect, and commitment to the mission of the Little League program. I mean, what does that even mean? They have to act with respect accordingly. Is that like double ice cream afterwards? Like, I don't even know what do you do at that point? How do you just be like, oh, kids, sorry, we cheated for you in the Little League and now you're disqualified. Our bad. On national TV, we didn't mean to have the entire world, know that you guys were, cheaters. Bill Belichick over here. But, I don't know how, I don't know what you do. It's like a very quiet van ride back home, I guess, to Tulsa. Just being like, I guess, school starts soon. Go get some markers on Thursday. Like, I don't even know what, it's just like, oh, actually, you can get the nice markers this year because, again, we cheated in Little League and got you disqualified. Not long after Tuesday's decision, the parents of the Tulsa team released a collective statement saying these kids relied on adults to grow, and now the adults are just, they're getting it, Chad. It is what it is, boss. It says they've relied on the adults to correctly interpret the rules, verify eligibility, communicate with families, and protect the integrity of their tournament. So I don't know. Did the district like pull up some group text thread situation where they're like, oh, the parents in the group that were planning this out a long time ago? But it said, quote, we did not fight because our boys believed they were entitled to a championship. We fought because they earned the opportunity to compete for one, the parents added. We could not be prouder of Team Oklahoma and the way the 13 boys represented the families. I think that's the title of the movie. Team Oklahoma? Hey, yo. I think this is, just pitch this article to Bruckheimer right now and see what he does. I guess it's probably not a Bruckheimer movie. But Zemeckis, is going to want to animate it. So it's like, I don't, see if somebody's, we're doing it live. But yeah, Chad, hey, yo, we got major drama in the Little League World Series. Hopefully the refs are able to get that sorted out. Should we just stay at the TMZ corner, the drama? Because we have this article here that says CBS, no timetable on Romo's future after arrest, Chad. Oh, no. Hey, yo. I didn't even know we were going to get to this point, but the future of analyst Tony Romo at CBS remains in flux following his arrest last month on suspicion of operating a vehicle while under the influence. CBS Sports President Dave Barrison said on Tuesday, it says it's an evolving situation, Chad. That's never a good thing when your boss in a sports media company says that. I think that there are some bosses, like I guess I'm not going to, I don't want to jinx myself, but I'll speak in a past tense. Like, I guess there have been some places where it's like an evolving situation might actually be a good thing. It's like, okay, they're going to go check the cameras. They're going to go see what actually, that we probably handled ourselves, somewhat decently in that situation. And it's not like they're going to, get too mad about what happened. It's like, okay, we can kind of see, the domino effects of how, the customer reaction got to this place or whatever. But, again, for a sports media company after a TMZ type scandal, we'll say, again, if the president is going out saying, the president of the company is stepping out saying it's an evolving situation and we're still assessing, that's a little questionable there. It says there is no timetable or final decision at this time. Romo received 3 citations from Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office following a July 23rd traffic stop after he was seen passing cars in a Gore area, which separates interstate traffic from cars entering an on-ramp. We're gonna be honest here, open and honest. Pause. We're gonna be honest here and just do a little research on Gore area. Pause, because just to double check the terminology here. Again, we may not know every road terminology that is out there. Okay, so you know what? Honestly, hot take, Chad. Have we passed a few people in the Gore area? No, we've never done that. But what does this mean, passing people in a Gore area? Because I guess there is obviously, and this is not the defense of drunk driving here from the again, we said Little League should be on ESPN too, and then now Romo wasn't that bad. But you're just like, okay, when the person is driving, what is catching the attention of the officer? Again, obviously, if it's a drunk driver, is it, just incredible? Is it swerving all over the place and just, incredible lack of control for the vehicle? I think that would be, of course, like the common stereotype that you would think of would just be, again, the person does not have control of the vehicle in this sense. I think like what maybe the sneaky realistic thing would be if it's going super slow. I did hear that one time. It's like most of the time it's not, again, like somebody like massive, and not to, again, but what I heard was what catches the attention is if you're going really slow. So maybe we shouldn't even say that as well too, because that could imply trending the opposite. But it's just like, okay, that would be the more that would be a common, I guess, habitual thing to do. And again, not a safe thing as well too. If you're on the highway, not a safe thing at all. But again, just like we're saying, what are the attention marking things? So this seems more like a a general reckless driving sort of situation. Like, I don't know if he has to be. I think what happens is the alcohol gives him the confidence to do something that, again, and it's like, well, yes, that's what would happen. But it's one of those things, like, if there's that, you're driving here, the lanes are kind of blocked up, you see the opening, and you know that you can get around. Like, I'm thinking that he either, again, he's passing them, so he's going in this near lane here, and you got traffic. I guess we don't know, again, like what Texas highway or something. I guess he's not the Cowboys quarterback anymore. Oh, that's right, he was in Milwaukee. What Milwaukee highway he's on. Does it track it here in the CBS Sports article? I-95 or whatever. But yeah, if you got some extra traffic here in the other lanes and you see that opening, pause, and you're like, okay, especially, again, speaking of going slow, if this person in front of you is going really, really slow, then you think, okay, maybe I just scoot around him really quick. You see daylight. Romo's basically just a running back at this point, or it's like when the punt return, when the gunner goes out of bounds and he just keeps running way out of bounds. He's like, if I run out of bounds, the defender is not. I can just run right around the block. And it's like, well, no, actually, you have to play football on the field of play. It turns out, I guess that is like literally the rules of driving. It does turn out you have to drive in the field of play. Like, Romo can't veer off onto the sideline to go get the punt returner in this situation. Of course, the other possibility is he took the exit and missed and realized this wasn't his exit, and then tried to get back into the highway. So he zoomed past it. He zoomed through the gore area to get there. Again, that sounds like a pause, but I guess that's what it's called here. And yes, maybe we're not even thinking about it right as well too. But it sounds like a pause either way. But for option one, he could have been going down the exit and then try to get back on the highway. Of course, there is the vice versa as well too, where again he's driving past, he's looking at his phone, he's on Spotify, he's selecting the song, he's like, oh, maybe he's just like, maybe he gets that late night rush of like he's going home after a night out, and he's like, I'm feeling pretty good. Do I get some work done? He pulls up his phone, he's like, sure, like I'm gonna watch some film on the drive. I'm gonna drink and drive, and watch the film on the way home. And then he just like misses his exit. And then all of a sudden he's got to zoom across the exit lane to get back into the thing. And then it's like, oh, there. And see, what happens is there's a cop sitting in the gore area here. Pause. And you're like, well, you're going to pull me over for, zooming, right? So, Romo probably veered past and maybe almost hit the cop sitting in the gore area, which, again, not safe, obviously, probably pick a different spot if you're a police officer. But because the videos that I was seeing, he looked pretty good. That's not what we're saying. But we didn't see him driving. And I thought that they had him pulled over in like a parking garage scenario. It seemed like they were covered up. So I guess it could have been under the highway for sure. They could, if he's going under the gore area, it could have been a bridge scenario. He goes off the exit lane. They fire up the lights. He pulls off under the highway, and then they they interview him there. They're like, hey, what was it like to be the Cowboys quarterback? But yeah, it did seem like the videos were closed up, but I guess this one here we're looking at, you can definitely see daylight here. So maybe he pulled off somewhere. Again, I only saw the ones of him. Yeah, these ones here of him doing the tests. So I guess, I don't know, is the sobriety footage copyrighted? And did they take him in, did they have him in the car and then drive him here? This could be the police station as well too. This could be in the parking garage there, where I guess, I don't know, should the way that the parking the way that the parking spaces are laid out sort of give away the location there. I don't know. But, again, this is what I'm referencing here when I'm thinking like, oh, are they in like a parking garage or something like that? So I was wondering if they almost just like got him early, where it's like, okay, they watched him go to his car out of like some hotel venue, and he's like, oh, the minute he pulls out of that parking spot, we're going to fire up and get him. And then, he does, and then they get him. But you would have to wait till he gets out on the street and actually starts driving at that point, I would assume, at least just to be certain anyways. And he also is in, of course, a t-shirt and shorts here. as well. So I guess, it's not like he was at some sort of party. And I guess like we're seeing in that last clip, it is daytime. So and day drinking Romo. Hey, yo, no wonder he never won a Super Bowl. No, but what are you saying for? So yeah, I don't. What were you saying there, Chad? Sorry to Romo, but just trying to be the defensive. Not. We're not a good attorney, Chad. I guess we're not going to be in the Romo courtroom movie. It is what it is. Romo will not be putting up the Rem and Sam pod as evidence for his case here. I guess he's like CB, sends this to the CBS president as the defense, and it's like, oh, I don't think that worked out. But again, I guess the point is, it's not like, Romo after a banquet got or something like that. I think that's just kind of almost what I assumed as well too. I don't know. Every time somebody gets caught, as a celebrity gets caught, I always just assume it's a post banquet. Hey, I'm like, yeah, they were at some sort of gala somewhere, and then they just knocking back drinks and then driving home. I guess is that no? I was gonna say Doctor Strange. I say he's not drinking and driving. He's on his phone, I think, and then I don't even think he's on his phone. I think he's on the infotainment center in the middle. I think he's like checking the Sirius radio on his car. He's like trying to get to Howard Stern's station on the car, and then there's like a semi on the road, and then it's like, oh no, Howard Artie Lang, funny joke, and then veers off the road, and all of a sudden now he's Doctor Strange. Hey yo, but I guess Romo, the cops got him, and I guess fortunately too. Obviously the path to being Doctor Strange, is a tough one there. But I guess back to Romo, keeping his job. Again, it didn't seem like it was. So again, not knowing what I guess my point was not knowing what the driving situation was there. Again, I didn't know what that would mean for the job. So I didn't even think right away to be like, oh, Romo's gonna get it. Because I was like, they got Romo in a parking garage. I was like, they almost saved his job. Getting him before he got on the street. But it doesn't look like that. It looks like they got him when he was on the road. Hey, yo, yeah, this is a new clip for us here. So I might have to, fire that one up a little bit later. Hey, yo, we got I guess a couple of situations here. Yeah, they did take him into the squad part. Yeah, okay, so they took him back to the station and then I guess tested him there as well too. And then of course we get the iconic footage of Romo stretching beforehand, which I think we all know what he's doing. Of course, yes, the back surgery, but I don't think there was a single field sobriety test that even forced any sort of flexibility out of him there. Pause. But does a lawyer tell you to stretch? I'm not sure, but I think a lawyer does tell you to buy some time. Hey, yo. Put as much time as you can between any type of testing or any type of what type of any type of testing or any type of like breathalyzer situation is the goal. So the stretching, I guess, again, and he's in the station at this point, so we're talking about he's contained. This is not bad advice. This is advice for once you're. Well, I guess it is bad advice because you have to get caught at this point. But in the case that you do get caught, I guess do some stretches. Because maybe that buys you some time. I don't know. Watch the video. I guess, there was a couple AI clips of Romo doing the Prescott warm-up as well, too. You could definitely work that one in a little bit, pause. But, yeah, again, I thought maybe, he, looked like he was keeping himself together decently in a parking garage. Like, it's like, oh, he'll be back. But it doesn't look like that. Quote, he performed poorly on field sobriety tests and was taken to custody, booked and released. The sheriff said Romo had not good. An open container of alcohol in his black Jeep. Hey, yo, did it, or just a Jeep? Just a Jeep. I don't know who wrote this article, chat. Oh, just the ESPN staff. Nobody will claim it. Hey, yo. So we'll reread the sentence. The sheriff office said Romo had an open container of alcohol in his Jeep. The court's records showed Romo was later cited for refusing to take test for intoxication after arrest. And the video did obviously show that he did turn down the breathalyzer, but he was placed on leave a week later. I guess we should have been more tuned into the TMZ. His court appearance is set for September 21st. We consider, this is a quote from Brinson, again, the ESPN or the CBS guy. We consider we have to consider the impact on our image and brand. That's very important to us. The focus should be the need to, he's got to lock in, is basically what he's saying. The focus should be and needs to be on our presentation and this great product and not any others. Fortunately, we have a deep bench. Oh, chat. Oh, no. Romo's cooked. Chatty's gone. Get him out of here. Is Greg Olson going to CBS as the number one guy? Maybe that's the move here. It says CBS announced Tuesday that Ross Tucker will join Ian Eagle and Evan Washburn and it's number 2 broadcast. Oh, I forgot about what? Oh, Chad, this is a mutiny. This is a straight up mutiny on Romo. Oh, Chad. I mean, and again, obviously there is that, I'm not saying, should Romo be suspended? Like, there will be the court sentencing that will happen there. I don't know if that needs to imply that in your professional life as well too, you need to have a, criticism there. Or a penalty there. I don't honestly really know that at all. In this case, again, I don't know. Again, I I think about, we'd be pro employment here on the Rim and Sam pod. So a guy having a job at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, we're pro Romo having a job. But, again, for like, is a suspension appropriate or something like that? Again, obviously those things could be worked out, of course. But, and I guess, there is the sort of like, how do you say this? Yeah, in the industry, in some of those industries, of course, sports all the way around. Obviously, coaching, players to some degree, but even the talk radio side of it, or talk radio, talk personality side of it. Of course, the security there to a little bit lesser degree than like coaching per se. But there is that sense, especially for the top guys, that they maybe will get rehired again. And, again, obviously, Romo is putting a lot of people in, danger by going out there with the DUI. But, again, for what do you say? Again, there obviously are those, like I guess we don't have to go down that path. But, again, there is that very realistic possibility that if Romo is not at CBS, that means Romo will never be broadcasting a game again. It's like, okay, well, there is a very likely path that Romo would be back in a booth. And, again, will be Fox, ESPN, NBC. I guess it's got to be one of the major networks there. But it's like somebody will pick up Tony Romo. He is a great announcer. And again, obviously, that I think that action of the network moving on would be the moment of sort of that would be considering that, again, that professional time served in a way. And then, again, if you're the second network, I guess it's, off your hands at that point to sign him. But yeah, what are we saying? For JJ Watt, there is just, again, the industry trend. Like if you're just looking from an industry side of things, even if Romo didn't have the DUI, like there is some definite rumblings that, JJ Watt's just the hot name right now. And not to say that JJ Watt, again, can Romo still be a better announcer than JJ Watt? Like it's still there for him. He's not washed. He's not, an NBA player past his prime at this point. But he is a little like an NBA player that has won the title over the last couple of years. And JJ Watt's like the guy that, again, is new in the league, fresh behind him, pause, like really trying to, obviously get the first time that he's gotten to that level. And sometimes you need to take that L from that guy to get remotivated again in some ways. And again, obviously, this is a very self-inflicted L as well, too, from Romo in this case. But like we're saying, the media side of things, JJ Watt was, pressuring him there for sure. And, if CBS, the point is, if CBS, I think, didn't have JJ Watt, obviously, again, that changes, that changes things. And it's not even, again, the moralistic decision of it, of, CBS is, doing the right thing by letting Romo go. It's like they see it out to get JJ Watt in as their number one guy. And I'm sure that there is some contract stuff as well, too. The salary cap. Again, obviously ESPN does this. They'll pay their guys. They'll sign them to the big contracts. And then, a couple years later, they'll go through the salary cuts and be like, actually, you know what? We're only keeping a couple of you at this point. And that was, that longevity sometimes is that bait to kind of, obviously keep you around there a little bit as well, too. And, a lot of these guys are obviously still making money year to year there. It's not the problem. But, like we're saying, it does make sense that CBS would take that opportunity to move JJ Watt up to number one. And I guess for some reason, networks don't like bench people like that very often. There just isn't that. It's almost seems worse in some ways. And again, obviously, again, we tread lightly. I'm not, throwing out any implications or anything like that. I'm just saying from a professional, like, talent situation, or I guess, it does imply the talent there to some degree. But there is that professional setting of it where if like Romo got benched for JJ Watt, like for some reason networks just don't do that. I can't think of a time that that's happened. Again, unless it's a guy getting outright fired for somebody like we're saying, ESPN moving on from Jeff Van Gundy. But again, that's not them, firing somebody because of a outside issue or, again, because they thought that their investment wasn't worth it per se. They were just like, okay, we don't want to invest this much in the broadcast booth anymore. Again, not invest that much, but just from a contract standpoint, they're like, we don't want to have the guys in the broadcast booth making that much money. Like, that's just not what we want to be paying. So, we're going to move on and get some different guys. But, again, so there is that little bit of possibility, I guess, there for Romo as well too. But yeah, obviously, like we're saying, we did forget about the JJ Watt side of things. But, again, it's like the domino effects of that. If Romo becomes available, is like Brady quarterback, and I guess Brady at this point, we can't, how many years is the Brady quarterback thing going to happen? And I think Brady kind of likes calling the games as well too, again. So I don't know if Brady would like willingly step away if Fox was like, hey, would you be willing to like take a little buyout and then we bring in Romo as the number one guy? I don't think that would happen. And again, they would have Olsen as well too, but that's another perfect example of this. And again, a little bit different, obviously, because again, Olsen was operating as the number one because Brady had signed the contract for Fox while he was playing for Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. So Brady wasn't even retired yet, and he had the contract lined up. And Olsen, again, they didn't have Brady, so they had to have a guy be on the number one team. So it's like, okay, well, Olsen, you're going to be on the number one team, but we've already promised Brady the number one spot. So again, I guess, Olsen kind of quote unquote, again, we're not saying he got benched, but there is just that sort of, that sense of it that, could be had out there where it's like, oh, did Olsen get benched for Brady in this sense? But, again, they would never like go back the other way where it's like, oh, this didn't work out. We can still have Brady on the in the network and still have him calling games, but he's going to be the number two guy now, and Olsen's going to be the number one or something like that. Again, they have to obviously, wait for an opportunity to have something happen. Again, we have to like go and see who he was hanging out with beforehand. It's like Romo was hanging out with the vice administrative assistant. There's like the vice administrative assistant of CBS took him out for lunch and, got him a couple drinks. Like McConaughey, he's like, bring us a cocktail every 5 minutes. And then, until we pass out. And then every 5 minutes after that. And he's like, okay, buddy, go drive home after that. And then Romo's on the way. And then, the CBS guy calls the police and he's like, hey, actually, I saw a car swerving around on high 95. And then next thing you know, he's like, oh, JJ Watt's, now we can get JJ Watt in it, the number one crew. I've the conspiracy, we're really going the conspiracy route, I guess, tonight with all this stuff. But, again, I don't know if that was a possibility there, but the possibility, the very, obvious thing that will happen now is, yes, they have JJ Watt. They want him to be the number one, and he won't be the number one. So, and I guess they're, like we're saying, maybe this would be a profession. Maybe there would be a professional benching here in some ways. Like maybe they wouldn't have to be like, Romo is no longer in the network. Some ways, like maybe Romo doesn't want to be with the specific network if he's not the number one guy. I don't know. But, again, like I guess Iron Eagle. So Ross Tucker with Iron Eagle right now, like, if Ross Tucker got bumped back down to the number 3 and then, Romo's number 2 with JJ Watt at number 1, like that would, make some sense in some ways. Like, again, it would obviously the big play Jim and then all the, the Romo Jim Nance stuff. Like there is a connection there for sure. Again, it is really the best. It is the best football announcing partner that Jim Nance has had in some ways. I think him and Phil Simms were in the booth together for a long time. So it could be, again, like he hasn't had too many, but Jim Nance NFL announcing partners. Let's see if we can we get a list and see who he's had. Okay, JJ Watt and Tracy Wolfson. Shout out. No, who is he worked with here? I guess, can we go through his Wikipedia page and try to piece this together? NFL on CBS started in 1987. Made his first on-game appearance during a strike, blah, 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 blah. Calling, okay, it said Jim Nance would work a full schedule of NFL games in 1991, calling games with Hank Stram. Okay. And then Dan Fouts in 1992. In the 92, he was paired with Randy Cross as well when Cross's regular partner Dick Stockton was covering baseball. Nance would join Cross full time, and they would be assigned the NFC divisional game in 94. CBS would lose the NFL. Nance would return to college with Doug Flutie, and then Terry Donahue as well too. The NFL went back to CBS in 98. The move sent Greg Gumbel to the studio. Rest in peace, if I'm not mistaken, to the legend Greg Gumbel there. But Jim Nance was then partnered with Phil Simms in 2004. So yeah, and then obviously Romo took over in 2017. So they were together for 13 years. And I guess the growing up years, obviously for us, like that was the team on CBS that I am familiar with in that sense. I do got to say though, like, maybe I don't have to say AO, but I don't have a lot of vivid memories of that like announcer duo. Like I do again, like Jim Nance, the sort of old school CBS graphic. Like the Colts won the Super Bowl on CBS in '07. So I don't know that just like, and the graphics package was the same for the SEC as well too, if I'm not mistaken, like the scorecard and stuff. So maybe not, but I think maybe, well, I guess we'll have to go back and double check some highlights. But so, there was just that mid 2000s CBS aesthetic as well too that I do think of when I just, think back to those games. But, again, that's not like the announcing duo that stands out. Obviously the Sunday Night Crew, Michaels and Collinsworth is, the main one I think of. And then now, of course, Tirico and Collinsworth, obviously have taken over that spot. But there is like again, Collinsworth is obviously like a character, like he might be still the number one announcer character that we have right now for the NFL. But there is a really good duo, obviously, with Nance and Romo. They might be, I guess, and you would say that maybe Bakeman, that's the couple name, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. I think maybe a couple of times a season, Troy Aikman looking a little like Troy Bakeman every now and then. You get to the fourth quarter of some of those games, but what are we saying? That does have like that. Again, like professional in the booth, like Joe Buck is like now again in like a kind of a Mike Breen era for his game where, again, just the top notch professional announcer, really knows how to nail the cadence of all the calls. And of course, again, Aikman obviously is just gotten better as an analyst and, as a compliment, obviously has just continued to get better as an analyst every year. They could definitely make the case, but the Nance Romo duo, of course, Romo does bring a little, and obviously, we know now he has, maybe a little bit more of a character than Aikman, though. I don't know. We can go surf Aikman's Wikipedia page. He might have been on a highway a couple times, but shout out to Troy Aikman. But either way, what are we saying for? It's just like there is a quirkiness for that duo that does interesting hang. Like it is sometimes, when maybe Romo's not bringing there is a baseline of, I guess, good analysis that Aikman is going to give you now in a game. Like, again, like that's his mode. Like his mode that he's in is analyst mode. But Romo sometimes can, of course, break down into, just like I'm just watching the game and having a good time mode as well too. And again, Collinsworth does that as well. And that's kind of where I just personally do enjoy watching games with both of those duos, over the Buck Aikman. And again, it's a luxury in the NFL if me personally, if I'm ranking Joe Buck and Troy Aikman as my third for, what game, for just what do I want to watch? Because again, that just means we have three really good duos right now three good duos. Yeah, they are three duos. I was like, can you have three duos? But yes, you can. Three duos. But we do have really good A teams right now. And again, like JJ Watt is a really, really good announcer. So, and again, he is a little bit more in the Aikman side of things, where it is that just kind of like stick to announcing a little bit more professional side all the way through. But again, I do like the Collinsworth Romo side of it, where they are going to bring the character personality, and there's just going to be that part in the fourth quarter of an exciting game where they've almost lost the analysis, and it's like, I'm just here watching, having a good time, making noises. Isn't this great? And then every now and then they'll like actually make a point with like 50 seconds left to like, okay, here's like me locking in for one last point on how to handle a late game scenario. And then you're like, oh, that's actually brilliant. I'm glad you're calling the game. And then it's back to being exciting for the rest of it. But again, to bring back Van Gundy, like that is where Van Gundy is. That's obviously what separated him and Mark Jackson from the top of the duos, because they were a trio. But that's what separated him from every announcing team that was out there. Of course, is because it's simple to say that they were a fun hang, but they were willing to again, be a fun hang in the game. They were willing to give up moments of analysis to be fans. They were willing to give up moments of analysis to have conversations. And again, there's obviously a balance to all that different stuff. And if you have two guys in the booth, it's different having that two analysts in the booth with a play-by-play guy. Again, that's different because they can have a conversation about something different than, again, just the sort of traditional dynamic of the analyst having a conversation with the play-by-play guy in some ways. And again, like that's been a little something more with Breen now in these teams where, and again, like Breen would almost be like the cap of a point that they would make for back in the day where Van Gundy and Mark Jackson would have their conversation. And then of course Breen would wrap it up with his thought and then get right back into the analysis of the game. And now it's almost like, he has to like actually host a pod when he's doing like, again, you would have said that in a good way back in the day where like Breen's hosting the best pod in the NBA right now with him and Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, but now he actually like has to host the pod where he's like, oh, so Tim Legler, what do you think about, Golden State acquiring Jimmy Butler? And it's like really got to like cue him, I guess shout out to Tim Legler, not Tim Legler specifically, Richard Jefferson, but he's like really got to kind of draw out some analysis sometime. And I think Jefferson has tried to. And I guess shout out. We got actually Richard Jefferson on in the background right now. Pause with what does that mean? With a classic NBA game. We've got a classic, the algorithm queued up a classic Nets versus Suns game, 2006, double overtime. Hey, yo, and he just missed a layup. Hey, yo. But I think he got a foul draw. So he's going to the free throw line here. Not to spoil it, it's in the second overtime as we speak in the replay. It's 153 Phoenix to 148 Brooklyn. Hey, yo. If Brooklyn gets a game this year where they score 148, even if they lose, that's going to be achievement. Hey, yo. What's the highest total? That's going to be an episode, chat. I don't know if anybody... That'll be the most original episode we do the entire NBA preview. What's the highest total each team's going to score this year in the NBA? But it's like Brooklyn's going to score 101. No, they'll have a couple of games. We'll have to go back and see what their record was last year. I guess... It broke the Brooklyn, or I guess they were New Jersey at this time as well, too. Broke the New Jersey record for points in a game. It was previously 148. So Jason Kidd, chat. I mean, what a point guard matchup. Jason Kidd versus Steve Nash. They don't make them like this anymore, Mike. Hey, yeah. But, again, like there is just a goofiness. It is a little like the 80s action heroes in some ways compared to some of the modern day action heroes. And I guess, some of the, obviously the best modern day action heroes that we have, like Vin Diesel and The Rock, I'm thinking of those real, obviously like strict action only type guys. But, again, the Arnold, Stallone, I always say Sly Stallone, but Sly Stallone, because Sylvester Stallone. So I don't even know is it Sly Stallone? Yeah, but yeah, of course, like we're saying, Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme, Chuck Norris, whoever you want to throw out there. I guess, who was the other guy in the well, I guess of course Carl Weathers, but also what's Ivan Drago's name? Dolph Lundgren. Hey, yo. Dolph Lundgren. Again, there is like a unintentional comedy, and obviously again, not breaking ground by saying that with Arnold, but there is a quirkiness with Arnold, and he was never afraid to lean into that as well too. Like he's like, oh, this is what the people like, then I'm just gonna be Arnold, and that's what's gonna work for me. And obviously Stallone would, be like, I'm going to commit to this role. And then there'd be some like moments where like, oh, Stallone really going all out with the commitment's really funny here, but you still love that Stallone is constantly committing the way that he is. Sometimes I guess is like Kurt Russell a little bit in that category. Kurt Russell though, and he is funny, but sometimes he is, in a good way, like it is a little more manufactured. Sometimes, like, he is just, I feel like Kurt Russell, Michael Keaton, maybe, Bruce Willis, it's starting to get into a little different tier in the unintentional comedy scale. Like, it does exist, but it's not just, like, radiating. It's like, it's not Vin Diesel, where it's just, like, off the screen all the time, but, there is that with the announcer. Like, the best NBA and the best NFL announcer is like an 80s action star, where they are really, really great at their job and you do know what you're going to get, but there is just a lot of unintentional comedy along the way. And it does make it a great hang. And, I think back in the day, it was obviously a little bit more unintentional comedy than it was analysis. But I think we have gotten to a point where there are, a good blend of both. a lot of times in the announcers right now. And again, I think like we're saying, this era, if the number one eras that we're in right now is Nance and Watt and Collinsworth and Tirico, and then in Buck and Aikman. Is there another one that I'm missing as well too? Fox. I guess who would be? Oh yeah. Oh, Burkhart and Brady. I guess I haven't mentioned them enough as well too. But if that's the era as well, then that we're still in a really good era. Again, the era is not getting, again, no disrespect to Romo. It's just, again, Watt's a really good announcer as well too. But the style of the era does change a little bit. And I guess you would say that maybe Brady does have some of the unintentional comedy, and Brady is like slowly becoming a good hang as well too. Like again, no disrespect to JJ Watt. Like maybe, and again, JJ Watt also tortured the Colts twice a year, so I might not be like, oh, let me just every time they want to relive a great JJ Watt highlight, it's just gonna be like, here's every time he sacked Andrew Luck when Andrew Luck didn't have an offensive line. But again, for Brady, like he might be working his way up the announcer rankings sneakily. Like he is still a little behind, obviously, Collinsworth and Aikman in terms of just the overall analysis at this point, but he does have the unintentional comedy. And the problem is that even with his unintentional comedy, he is still a little too measured at this point. Like that's where the unintentional comedy happens, is he is being measured, but then there are times when he's not. And then again, like Collinsworth is just not being measured on the entire broadcast this entire time. Like Romo just wasn't caring anymore. Like, and for better or worse, Romo just letting it rip on the broadcast. Like again, Brady might get to that point where it's just like, okay, I've been doing this for 5-6 years now. It's like a little more comfortable. I'm gonna pretty much work out the contract at this point. Like I'm kind of set in the job. Like he maybe goes up a little bit level with that just relaxation factor in some ways. But again, like I would assume that Romo would if we just assume right now that those decisions that are escalating are just going to escalate right into a Romo's fired. But I would assume that he would again like get picked up somewhere else. Hey, Romo's going to be doing FCS games next year. I don't know, but again, like I guess the problem is NBC doesn't have like the second level of games to go to in some ways. Like if Romo was going to do college, like maybe they bring him in to do college, and Romo's like the Notre Dame guy in some ways, because right now it's like Jason Garrett's like the number 2 guy on NBC. Like it really does, like Collinsworth is like the sneaky MVP of all of the guys right now because of what he does to ESPN. Because the minute, like if NBC does the Thanksgiving game where it's like, oh, now we got to have 2 announcing teams, or we're in the playoffs or something, like how dare NBC have to cook up 2 good announcing teams? Like we can't have a second good analysis on NBC at all. Hey, I guess we're just ripping apart everybody at this point. But I just mean like, well, I guess we can't take it back at this point, Chad. Are we live? But is anybody watching this? But hopefully not Dungy. We love Dungy. Hey, I'm gonna have to go find the Tony Dungy biography that we used to have, because now I feel bad about that. Hey, Chad, so I'm gonna have to add the Tony Dungy. I might have to go buy it as well too if I can't find it. I did own it as well. I had 2. How many sports biographies do I own? Hey, are they in here? Did I bring them out? I don't think I did, because the books that are in the corner, they would have been in the same box with the Sports Illustrated books that are right there. But I guess I just put the box away. Hey, yo. But the 2, I think I didn't, I guess, own any NBA biographies. I guess back when we used to read. Hey, yo. But I guess did everybody used to read back then? But growing up, we did used to read a little bit, because, and it's not, we were, I guess, raised in the digital age to some extent, but there is a sneaky, obviously, again, like you say, technology like really escalates. Like people say, again, our generation's like, oh, you've never known anything without an iPhone. It's like, that's not true. I guess for most of our, our adult teenage life, like we definitely hit the iPhone at the right time. Like I didn't need an iPhone when I was 7. Again, like obviously now, again, you really don't know an age without an iPhone. Like you literally have an iPad. It's like the first, it's like what's, you don't even need a toy. You just have an iPad. But, again, like there was a time where we didn't have like an iPhone and an iPad, and, everybody had a computer. Like it was just the very tail end of that when we were a kid. Like, again, the early, the aughts in that area there. And, again, like the technology was existent, obviously, but it was more accessory technology than it was entertainment technology. Now, obviously, again, it's entertainment technology, but the phone back then was just that. It was just a phone. It was obviously a flip phone But you weren't. Well, I mean, but again, you had like an MP3 player, like you had. I'm not saying that. Oh, we didn't have any. We didn't have anything as kids. We just played outside. Yeah, like we could have still buried ourselves inside and not done anything. But and like again, video games were still there. Like it was just not the equivalent to the Xbox today. But this stuff was still in existence. But there was the point is like now it's just more unavoidable. Like it's literally unavoidable. It's just it is what entertainment is now. Like again, you don't. There is not the decision in some ways. I guess it is, but there isn't in some ways as well too. Like just the standard baseline for entertainment now is just devices. Hey, Rem and Sampod taking on devices. But again, like we're saying, there was that little bit of a window for us growing up where it's like, okay, there is a sneak peek into the past here of us not just like having technology 24/7 at the fingertips to be able to entertain. But like we're saying, by the time we hit the teen years and then you can really, I guess, what does that even mean, really? Take advantage of technology. Hey, yo, chat. Whoa. Whoa. But, again, when it's just a little bit more, I guess, reasonable to even be owning that type of stuff as well, too. Like, that's when it did start to become ownable in that type of way. So it made more sense. I don't even know what we were talking about, what this had to do with announcing as well, too. What did the development of the iPhone have to do with Romo as an announcer? I don't know. But I guess, and then Romo was the Dallas quarterback through all of this at some point. So, thankfully we weren't tweeting out on our flip phone about Romo, misplay. I guess, we don't need to talk about Romo's career, but, Romo had a great career. There's so many other highlights that we can mention. Oh, we were talking about Jason. Oh, we were talking about Tony Dungy. That's what it was. Hey, we were talking about reading. Oh, we got there, Chad. Oh, whoa. I don't know how we slid down that tunnel, but, the two, back to the books, the two books that we owned were Tony Dungy's autobiography and Emmett Smith's autobiography, which I guess is also a banger as well too. And I guess there were a bunch, again, sneak peek into the past. We did hit a library visit every now and then just to pick up a sports book like that. And the Dr. J one, maybe I have the Dr. J one as well too. That was another one that I read quite a bit. I think that might be the number one, and that might be the number one NBA biography that I've read. I don't know if it would be like, again, I'm doing my book rankings. I was literally reading these books as like a preteen, so I can't no knowledge to go back and rank these books. Hey, but that's the one that I really remember. I guess the Dr. J one. Hey, shout out to Dr. J. Call him. I'll reread it again. We'll discuss it. I'll listen to the audiobook, I guess, and call it reading. But hey, what are we saying for announcers? I guess good luck to Tony Romo. Hey, we'll see what I guess happens there with the team. Hey, good luck to JJ Watt, I guess, as the new number one guy on CBS. But I guess more training camp, more NFL topics that we still have to go here on a Tuesday night. So don't go anywhere, chat. The live stream continues right after this. All right, Chad, it's time to take it onto the field. Let's actually get some training camp notes in here. NFL Training Day, we're calling it. We do have, like we said, a Denzel. Did we say that earlier? A Denzel Will Smith debate just taking over the internet right now. It is one of those things where I never know, again, like what is like viral and what is just I guess you can tell obviously with like likes and stuff like that. But, like if this is just viral or if this is because I've been looking at this in my algorithm, then, smaller, obviously the niche of it is then starting to hit the algorithm as well too. Where it's like, is Denzel versus Will Smith like kind of resurging as a debate right now, or is it just I saw a couple of posts on it and now my algorithm is all just Denzel versus Will Smith? Because it has been very, very heavy Denzel versus Will Smith lately. And I guess, it is always going to be heavy on the Denzel movie clips. There's going to be a lot of Will Smith movie clips in there as well too. But specifically, just again, the comparison, the argument, the, compare and contrast of the two obviously great careers. And, do you say, oh, well, there's no wrong answer? Actually, that is the wrong answer. There is a right answer. There's clearly a right answer. But, and I guess, hey, if we're calling it the train, we're not calling it, the Empire of this Empire of the State. Hey, I don't think Will Smith is in that movie. Enemy of the State days. But, or, we're not calling this the NFL Pursuit of Happiness updates. Hey, but, Pursuit of the Concussion. Hey, but we'll rip through some intel here on the NFL. I was seeing some notes on the Bills. I guess this is not what I was looking for here. That basically says they have no idea what they're going to do on defense this year. And it did have me thinking, of course, obviously the Sean McDermott coaching thing there, you get that label of like, oh, did this need to switch up at some point? Obviously they haven't quite gotten over the hump. And, it's not even that they hadn't gotten over the hump, but if Sean McDermott had made a Super Bowl or something, there just would be like Zach Taylor is still around in Cincinnati, literally because of that. So maybe he was hired a couple years after. I don't know if he's technically been there longer than Sean McDermott has, but in this era, of course, he's, outlasted him on the team as of right now. But there was a very specific identity to the team, and obviously maybe again not maybe the most best identity to build a team around in some ways, but it was working there competitively to some degree. Where offensively, of course, Josh Allen's going to be there to really carry a lot, but defensively, like Sean McDermott was coaching that defense up to be productive. And I guess the difficult part is, again, you go to some of the playoff games and there are difficult performances sometimes to look at as well too. But also on the other side of that, like the 13-second game really like on the defense, or is that just, again, all-time great stuff? Obviously, Tyreek Hill made plays that can't be stopped there. I think maybe the seam route to Kelsey that set up the field goal, maybe that is a little bit on the defense there. I don't know, go back and double check that one. But, again, for the most part, I would say that their defenses have kind of overachieved their talent. That's been the other part of it. Like, yes, there maybe haven't always been the lockdown defenses that you'd want going into some of these playoff series, but again, personnel-wise, they're not always, riddled with all-stars as well, too. They have had some great players pass through there that are still there as well, too. Like, Rousseau is still there. Of course, Milano, I think, was he like a first-team All-Pro one year, and there's maybe even a couple other guys I'm missing as well too. Some interior guys, somebody on the Tre'Davious White had some good seasons on the corner there, but again, they were never the most vaunted defense in the league, but they were always a defense that could compete and seem kind of well coached for the most part, and they were always kind of injured as well too, so that might even be another part to look into. But again, there would be, at least from a regular season standpoint, which again, the playoffs, regular season, like we're saying, they're making the adjustments to hopefully get the playoff boost. But, what could happen there, of course, is you need to take a regular season reset to get there, and maybe that's this year. Now, you have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is, of course, as of right now, and I'm not saying this, I guess, decisively. I guess this is our bias as I'm a home guy. So you do have to, watch our tone when we are talking about Josh Allen, because, I think we will get to like 90% of the right conclusion with Josh Allen there. But, again, like we say, we can't admit our bias. So just like there is like a 10% perspective tax. Hey, yo. It's just like you have to say what you have to take what we believe in the tone and just like, just again filter it through that prism of, Mahomes is our guy. It is what it is. Yeah, Mahomes is our guy, but we're fans. It is what it is. But what are we saying for the Bills? So the Bills are one of those teams every year that is that like if it the I guess again like we do have to vicariously get competitive through the Chiefs because the Colts are just not competitive. It is what it is. So we have to root. We have to have our hopefully if our hopefully Mahomes. I guess it is what it is. We don't have to like cushion saying it. Obviously, we're still a Colts fan, but we like, I like it when Mahomes wins. So, again, if the Colts aren't going to win, then if Mahomes, wins, then that is something that I like as well, too, from an NFL standpoint. And the fact that it hasn't necessarily been conflicting as well, too, again, it hasn't really gotten in the way. Like, there have been, I guess, Mahomes did, I think, beat Andrew Luck in the playoffs early on. But again, Andrew Luck retired as well, too. So the Colts just kind of took themselves out of competition. It's not like the Colts have been one win away from the playoffs and they lost to the Chiefs, or the Chiefs beat the Colts in the conference championship and we almost made the Super Bowl that year and this was our opportunity, but Mahomes just had this great play in the fourth quarter. Like, we're not the Ravens. Hey, it actually works in our favor that we're bad because now I can still root for Mahomes. Like we've said before. And maybe this is the one thing that proves that we liked Mahomes back at Texas Tech, is that there is just that extra bias, even if he's not on our own team, where we're just invested at this point. I don't even know where the favoritism even started at Texas Tech, but it's just there. I mean, it's not even a hot take. He's fun to watch. And the problem was not, again, the problem wasn't he was bad at Texas Tech and then he just got good in the NFL or something like that. He got better in the NFL. The problem from a general public standpoint was nobody really saw Texas Tech at that point. Like it's not like there would be a quarterback comparison now. Maybe some of the perception is a little different now, but again, a guy from a mini school, like going at the 10th overall pick that not a lot of people have seen, is not like super crazy in some ways. Like, like is Ty Simpson like the most, known quarterback right now? Like Mahomes is way better than Ty Simpson. I guess a lot more people did see Ty Simpson, and again, Mahomes is the 10th overall pick in the draft. So it's like from where I think he did, like there was a pretty proper evaluation of Mahomes there to some point. Like it was definitely getting there. Like again, like obviously, is there that ultimate, he was not the number one recruit in high school, so he couldn't get up to, be the number one pick in the draft, or I guess we have to go back and see who the draft was at that time or whatever. Again, like Mitchell Trubisky was the number one quarterback. So I guess, Mahomes could have been. So, we can't give the league too much credit, I guess, at that point. They traded up for Trubisky as well. But, either way, again, like, from where he started, obviously, at the beginning of his last year in college to being the 10th overall pick, like that honestly, at the time of the draft, that almost made me like resell my Mahomes stock at the time, was because I was like, well, he's not a sleeper anymore. I was like, if you're a top 10 pick in the draft, can you even be a sleeper? But so I was like, I don't even know if I can, say like, oh, we found Mahomes like in this same thing. Can we even, take credit as a fan for being like, we saw Mahomes early? But, again, like the biased fandom is still there. So I guess the point of this was, again, to, remind us that, we can we talk about Josh Allen appropriately, because we're, marred by our love for Pat Mahomes' game. It is what it is. And also, I do like Josh Allen's game, but admittedly I do like Mahomes' game more, and I do also, the best moments of Lamar are probably the next best thing to watch in the NFL from a quarterback standpoint. Obviously the scrambling around was a little different this past year, so I think maybe that's kind of why I phrased it like that. Like again, like I don't, but he's just, I don't know. Lamar's still so much fun to watch. Hey, and he's gotten so good as a passer now as well too. Like I legitimately love watching Lamar throw the football, if that makes sense. Where I don't know if that would have always been the case back in the day. Not to say that it would have been oh, we hated watching Lamar throw the football, but I don't know if it would have been like, I think it has it's legitimately crossed over into special. I think we've said this before where, hey, hot take, Lamar's gotten really good as a passer, but I don't think that he's gotten the credit for being like a legitimately special passer at some points. Again, there is a lot of that too is because of the playoff stuff that is in there, obviously like Russillo has the Sunday night theory of quarterbacks where, the scale of the primetime game obviously does help influence the public opinion. And of course, that goes into legacy, and that goes all the way into the playoffs where, again, like, Jalen Hurts, in my mind, am I more confident with Jalen Hurts in a playoff game than Lamar Jackson, even though maybe Lamar Jackson's game to game, a better quarterback. But, Jalen Hurts has been awesome in those big moments, and there is just that trust factor that is there that, again, like we're saying, that primetime corollary that does go to how you, inform your opinion on some of these players. But just from a watching it standpoint, I would have those two guys there. So I guess, again, for me to say that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league, undoubtedly, like, there is just going to be that little bit of hesitation there in some degree. But that does not mean that, again, if you have Josh Allen, if Josh Allen's playing his best football, that means that Buffalo is still going to be a really, really competitive team. And obviously Josh Allen's an MVP level player at some point. So, the point is as well, too, that you would assume that Josh Allen should still be like a 10-11 win type of game guy. But again, like we said with Mahomes, this offseason, you would assume that if you have a 3-time Super Bowl champion who's, quote unquote, only turning 30, and you have arguably the best coach in the league, that you would kind of be, locked to be, again, are you locked to be a Super Bowl contender? But, you would be a lock to be a competitive regular season team to some degree. And again, I don't know if they're getting that respect. I think Buffalo, I guess I don't have the odds up in front of me. I haven't done a good Super Bowl odds check in a minute. Hey, yo. I don't even know. Do I have FanDuel downloaded, chat? Do we have FanDuel downloaded? Hey, yo. Do we even have to ask? But it's good to be back, chat. Hey, yo. I guess because we couldn't jinx the Spurs run as well, too, for the NBA. So, we had to kind of avoid the apps at that point. But, oh, chat, we're back now. Okay, wait, I don't even remember what we were going to look at. It's just like, okay. Oh, just the excitement. But chat, this is bad. This goes to another topic we were going to queue up earlier or later about, Brad Pitt. He said he's drinking again. I'm back on FanDuel, chat. Hey, yo. We're all just relapsing at this point. But I totally forgot what we're looking at. MVP odds? Super Bowl odds? I think it was Super Bowl odds as well. Plus MLB odds are dominating here, and I can only find preseason odds as well. Why can't I bet the Super Bowl? Why can I only bet preseason games? Hey, yo. Okay, here we go. Season leaders. Rams. The Rams have their own tab. Hey, yo. Is it in futures? I guess it's probably in futures. Yeah, Super Bowl. Oh, okay. Buffalo is third. So Buffalo does have the number 1 AFC odds. So yeah, again, they're getting more respect. But again, they literally don't know who's going to be on their defense this year, according to Ben Solak from training camp. So, and shout out Solak. He can call in and double check that we can double check the points with him here on the Rem and Sam pod. Really make sure that, we're doing our investigative work. But just to double check, who is kind of projected the starter. And again, you do have Rousseau there. So having a pass rusher is a big, big building block, of course, for having a great defense. But again, a lot of that there is just a certain level of coaching across the regular season where there are going to be some games where, they may outperform that to some degree. The weather as well, too. Sometimes the style can help there. I guess Benford. Oh, Chad, honestly, I'm back in now. Pause. They got our guy CJ Gardner Johnson. I guess I don't know if that's how you say the name. Oh yeah, CJ Gardner Johnson. Yeah. They got our guy. The PFF grade, 81st out of 91st, doesn't matter. Hey, when he's on teams, they win. This honestly might be the best thing that happens to the Super Bowl. Hey, we got, I guess Josh Allen got married last year. It's Herbert this year. But we got, I guess, Josh Allen a year into marriage. I guess a kid on the way, maybe. We double check that. Or already born as well. I guess Rem and Sam TMZ crew. I don't know. We get on that. But maybe not. But what are we saying? For the career motivation for Josh Allen. But also having Gardner Johnson. Maybe you want him like as your third safety and not starting, just on the team as a good luck omen. But, they Terrell Bernard, I guess, as well, too, chat. Hey, the PFF grades are not favorable to this team. That is for sure. Oh, Ed Oliver was the interior guy that I was thinking of earlier when I was thinking of defensive linemen. Okay, so, they do have some personnel here. But, I guess, again, it could be obviously getting the guys back to some of the level of play, too. Bishop, is this Cole Bishop was a second-round pick. It looks like he was playing pretty well as well, too. Bringing in DJ Moore on the offense is obviously not bad. James Cook was, a major part of it last year. But you assume Coleman taking a year forward. Was he a rookie last year? No, 24 draft. So, year three, are we going to get like 1,000-yard Coleman year this year as well, too? Whereas, obviously that's the DJ Moore side of things as well. But yeah, I was like, okay, are we a little too overhyped on Buffalo at this point? But I guess maybe Kansas City is getting more respect in the odds anyways that I'm thinking. Maybe it is just again in sort of the public opinion of Kansas City. I don't know, if the odds obviously say, reflect public opinion to some degree as well too. Because Kansas City is third. You've got Buffalo, the Ravens, Kansas City, New England, the Chargers, the Texans, and then the Bengals, the Broncos, and then the Jags for the AFC potential teams. So, and the Broncos were literally the best team in the league last year. And for some reason, they've fallen behind the Texans as well, too. That's going to be the Bo Nix, CJ Stroud factor, maybe, where probably the best version of Stroud, if he gets back to that, it's maybe been a little better than the best version of Bo Nix to some degree. But, and, the Houston defense is going to get that label as well, too, of one of the best defenses, if not the best in the league. But the Denver defense is right there as well, too. Obviously, you've got Surtain. You've got Benito still as well, too. Riley Moss, Hufanga. Like, they're bringing back most of the team. Zach Allen is still there. He had, I guess, the PFF grade. Zach Allen, was he a Pro Bowler this past year? I could be wrong on that. But I'm feeling like he was pretty productive. Yeah, they brought in Waddle as well too. And Sutton was like a underrated number one guy. Like again, is Sutton going to be, in the top 10 of receivers? Are there going to be some, could you make your arguments of like T Higgins versus Cortland Sutton? It's like, oh, the number 2 guy on Cincinnati versus number, but again, T Higgins is really good. And at the end of the day, receiving, not to say that great receivers are a luxury, obviously, but there is a balance there of, obviously getting the productive, moving the offense forward and having, guys that can have, having guys that can just turn things into explosive plays and create stuff on their own is awesome. But sometimes, obviously you can have a little bit more of a system for receivers than maybe you can in the NBA, even as well too, of like, team passing and stuff like that. Like you can definitely win games there, or maybe like college is the more, is the more, what it has more crossover there, But, again, where it's like you can get away with some team play. It's like, okay, some of these teams in March Madness, especially back in the day before the transfer stuff and you had more seniors playing on some of these high-level teams, but it'd be like, oh, this team of really talented 5-star freshmen versus these seniors that have been playing together for a while and their teamwork is going to be able to make up for the lack of talent and their veteranism. Like, again, obviously, speaking of Kansas City, I guess Kansas City has had Kelsey, but from the receiving standpoint, they had Tyreek Hill when they were winning as well too. So they have had the best guy. Take Kansas City off the board, but again, you can't have obviously productive offenses without having the quote unquote best receivers in the league. But Waddle is when he's out there, hopefully the health thing, but again, if he's out there consistently, is going to make them a better offense. The running back core, Harvey, again, maybe you would want more of a traditional running back situation because Harvey is a little more of a pass catcher, but he's a good runner too as well. Who else? Yeah, they still have Dobbins, McLaughlin. No, who did they have there's somebody last year that's missing. Is it oh Chad, I'm forgetting now. Do we have to look it up? Who was it? Was it Javonte? Javonte went to Dallas last year. Did somebody, I feel like they had a 2 running back thing going on again. Maybe it was Harvey as well, but we'll double check here and see who I'm thinking of, if anybody. But yeah, 14-3, lost in the conference championship game to New England, 7-10, so they could have been in the Super Bowl. And again, maybe that game just being as ugly as it was, again, doesn't like inspire people to pick them the next year. But, again, they're obviously the recipe is still pretty similar. Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin. I guess, yeah, same running back core. Obviously, still a good thing to have the continuity there as well, too. So, I guess, maybe a draft pick. I guess, what did they have for draft picks as well, too? But, so I guess Jonah Coleman is the draft pick. I was like, there's no way. They had to take somebody. So we'll see. Out of Washington, can we look up some Jonah Coleman hype here? real quick and see. Hey, yo, chat, this is great. This is real training camp research right here. Oh, look at this. A day ago, we got a report from the Denver Post, so this could be a little bit of a biased source here, but Broncos' Jonah Coleman could be the steal of the entire draft. Oh, chat, look at that. Look at that. What do we go? News? I guess that's probably what we want. The Broncos running back depth already looks good with Jonah Coleman. Broncos Jonah Coleman looks like he could be steal a draft. Chat. Is this article from 3 years ago or 3 minutes ago? J.K. Dobbins injury update. Dobbins won't impact R.J. Harvey's fantasy value, but he could impact Jonah Coleman's. Hey, so what is R.J. Harvey, his fantasy value right now? What do we have him going at? Hey, ADP 7th round. So who did we just look up? Was it Travis Hunter? So Travis Hunter and RJ Harvey are your 7th round options right now for ADP. That is interesting. I mean, those middle of the drafts, I think maybe is when you start to, in my mind, maybe lose some of the ADP. I mean, you don't want to get, you do want to keep that in mind because it is value in terms of drafting against the other players as well too, and who you're going to accumulate. If you can wait a couple rounds to get a guy and fill your team up with other players, that is going to be like, it's like the reverse depth situation, if that makes sense. Whereas like if I could take the player that I want earlier but maybe miss out on later players, that would again, now you're galaxy braining. I think that you just take the players that you want in fantasy is what you learn time and time again. But and then again, RJ Harvey being the lead running back for the Broncos is not bad for sure. But I guess if Jonah Coleman's getting some hype, but rookie running backs, of course, they can obviously be hit or miss if it's like that first round pick of not the first round pick being hit or miss, but the first round picks are more that guarantee sometimes of getting that instant production. And, the later round picks need the opportunity to get the sole role in some way. It could be injury or it could just be, again, they don't have somebody. So the 4th round guy becomes the lead guy as well, too. And then it's like, well, yes, then they get the sort, then they're right on track with that first round guy. But because there is, the people in the quote unquote in the way of Coleman specifically, again, obviously just the fantasy value, I guess, of the running back room in Denver is interesting. And again, you would, I guess, wouldn't draft Jonah Coleman, but at least, waiver wire watch list situation early on, just go ahead and, star the player there just in case, a couple weeks in, maybe, you might want to use a waiver wire situation there. But impresses in pass protection is going to be, that's going to be important, chat. You do want your running backs, obviously, to, be able to be out there. I guess let's see what we got here from what's this Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Shout out. Broncos coach Sean Payton said earlier in training camp when he watches 4th round rookie Jonah Coleman go about his work, he doesn't see a rookie, but a player who seems far more seasoned. During Monday's Broncos training camp, Coleman continued to show why. Coleman continued to look strong between the tackles, displaying a nice blend of patience and burst. And I think that's what I was saying earlier about a real running back and Dobbins, of course, can hit. And I didn't stutter there. I was meaning that intentionally. A real running back. But, Dobbins can kind of get between the tackles and be a heavy hitter a little bit. And it's not just, again, bowl a guy over for 2 yards. But it's the, toughness of obviously, you want your blocking to be able to win as well, too. And the players to be able to take advantage of that. But just that ability to be able to obviously, pick up good gains between the tackles to some degree, obviously just expands what you can do offensively. If you don't have the ability to run between the tackles, we'll just take that out of the game plan. But, then what that does, just makes you a little bit easier to stop. But, again, if you do at least have that option with Coleman, that does become interesting just for, what Bo Nix has to rely on as well, too. And, even seeing Stidham's name here, I totally forgot they didn't even have Bo Nix in that conference championship game. So here we have to double check, I guess, his injury. That could be the thing that is keeping him back for the Super Bowl as well, too. Bo Nix is eager for preseason action. Bo Nix extension timeline. Greg Penner makes Broncos stance clear. Oh, chat. Is this like the CBS? Is the decision still pending? Let's see what we got going on here. Bo Nix is back on the field, which makes everything happen at Broncos HQ right now feel right as rain. 2 weeks into training camp, Bo Nix has looked very, very good. His mobility is not a question 7 months after a fractured ankle in the playoffs. He seems to be unencumbered by the ankle and is fully back to pre-injury form. Well, this is great. Hey yo, this Chad Jensen is loving what he's seeing. I guess at these training camps. As a passer, Bo Nix's throwing motion looks even more polished. Like he even Chad. Do we just have to? Hopefully nobody from FanDuel is listening to this. This is the first time we don't want anybody in the live. FanDuel people, get out of the live stream. We're gonna try to bet this Broncos right now. Hey yo. I guess what, 20-1? Are they ever going to get lower than 20-1? Do we have to look at their schedule real quick? Is there like a I guess, but the problem is, you start going 0-2 and it's like, oh, teams that are 0-2 or 0.2% likely to ever win the Super Bowl. They got Kansas City week 1 and then Jacksonville week 2, Rams week 3. So there is, and then 49ers week 4. There is a sneaky 1-3 possibility here. San Francisco at Chargers, Seattle, Arizona, Kansas City, Panthers, Raiders. Okay, so it does get easier in the Arizona. Again, we're saying respect Kansas City, but the divisional rounds, you just never know how they're going to split that as well too. But so Arizona, Kansas City at home, Carolina, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Raiders, the Bills, the Patriots, the Chargers. So they could rip off 8 straight wins here in the middle of the season. I mean, again, iffy on the Kansas City, but we'll just give them that loss early in the season to prove the betting point. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 even. And again, they could split with the Raiders. Obviously, if Mendoza's starting in week 15 at Oakland, that could be a little bit of a monkey wrench type of game. But and then you get back to Buffalo and New England week 16, 17, Chargers at week 18. That could be a playoff game that they could playoff type game that Denver could definitely win as well too. But again, even if they start off 1-3, they could be 8-1 in this middle stretch of the season. And I guess, what are we saying? Maybe 2-2 here in week 4, and then all of a sudden, again, they're 10-4 by the time we hit week 14. I guess 11-5 or 11-4, and then 11. What do you say? 11-4, 11-6. We'll say 12-6. So they could, I guess, 13, I guess, 13, we can't do math, but they could still be, again, a 11, 12 win team this year, win the division. Again, they were the 1 seed last year, so they had the home field. That is important as well, too, especially for Denver. But I don't think it's impossible to think Denver can't go on the road. Again, Kansas City, tough environment, but still divisional is going to be an interesting matchup in the playoff either way. Either of those teams is going to be a little less terrified on the road. So, again, that would work out for Denver there as well too. And like I'm saying, if they have to go to Buffalo, just as of right now, I don't know if that's the most terrifying game. Josh Allen's still going to be terrifying, but Buffalo's not is Buffalo as terrifying? And like we're saying, Baltimore just hasn't proven that they are that playoff team yet. So there is just, as much as you do have a respect for Lamar as a player and Derrick Henry and the talent they have on defense. Like you're saying, they're just the fear factor. It is what it is. They haven't struck fear into the hearts of teams in the playoffs. I hate, like I said, I hate to say it because I do love Lamar, but we do have to speak honestly about that factor of just being a fan rooting against him. Like, I'm terrified that Lamar, like, the terrifying factor is that it is the game that Lamar figures it out. I guess would be like me if I'm playing, if it's the Colts playing against the Ravens or something, it's like, okay, this is the game that Lamar just goes crazy. And then it would be like, oh no, this is the one game that Lamar was ever awesome at the playoff game. But just against the Colts, which, does sound very realistic. But what are we saying for, again, if you're Denver off a 14-win season, you're not going into this season, again, like, oh, how terrified are we of this Baltimore Ravens team? You're probably approaching it as you're the best. And that's what I guess, looking at the odds early on, not turn this into a Super Bowl preview, but just, again, obviously that jumps out. It would be, who is that, lowest end team that would have that type of swagger going into the season? I guess you do also have Chicago at 30-1 is not bad if you're just looking at overall odds. But, again, if we're, is Caleb Williams, like, he is definitely very, very much ascended. But, again, like, we're still waiting for that, that next level of confidence that we can have in him as that playoff quarterback as well, too. I mean, he was awesome in making big plays last year. But, again, it just still is time spent with these guys, and you just have to continue to, have that history of them having those good games. But, training camp notes, Denver. Do we just go, let's see what we have in here for this Denver situation as well? Because, the Rodney Dangerfield team for the offseason, I guess, no respect. We'll see if we can get some specific notes here. on what is going on. August 11th, Penner, who had not spoken publicly since league meetings, our goal is to compete for a championship every year. Okay, yes, that is true. It says center is suddenly a trouble spot. Oh, no. Injuries continue to happen at the position. The Broncos' two centers, Luke Wattenberg and Alex Forsyth, missed time at camp on Tuesday. Michael Dieter, who signed for depth in the offseason after spending 7 seasons in Miami, Washington, and Houston, was carted off to the locker room. Calvin Throckmorton slid into first-team center with undrafted rookie free agent Gavin Ortega, providing depth. All-pro guard Quinn Mraz, Mirinez, I guess I'm stuttering crazy for that one, played some center, but you know what we're talking about, right? Played some center early in his NFL career, could shift over if needed, but moving one of the NFL's best guards to another position is not ideal. Sam Ehlinger continued to flash in his quest for the number 2 QB job. Oh, chat, what a battle. Number 2 QB in Denver. He has consistently moved the offense in team drills, and his throws to undrafted wide receiver rookie Colby Katsis for a touchdown in situational red zone work with third-team offense was one of the best plays of the day. So maybe Colby Katsis, a name to watch for receiver as well, too. If, you know, again, there is some depth reps that could be won there as well. And then J.K. Dobbins, who left Monday's practice with what Sean Payton referred to as a soft tissue injury, returned on Tuesday. So nothing too surprising there. Okay, here we go. Quarterback Bo Nix hopes first season offensive coordinator. Oh, Davis Webb. Chet. Oh, are we getting old? Once the guys we start seeing, play or all coaching is crazy. I was thinking about that. We were talking, of course, in the last live stream, the games we had on in the background. We had a 96 Cowboys versus Colts game on, and it was Dion and Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, quarterback for the Colts. And it is kind of funny sometimes to go back into these eras and see all the guys that, especially some of the ones that you grow up knowing coaching. I guess Dion wasn't coaching when we were growing up. Obviously, he's gotten into it recently. But, Harbaugh was, obviously around at Stanford and stuff. As just in coaching circles, as long as we can remember here. But, just seeing all of these personality names, that we know as personalities, but then going back and watching them as players as well, too. It's a little funny to me to have that reverse association where when I see Jim Harbaugh's face as a player, I see him as the coach first and then as the player. But again, there is obviously just the timeline of Jim Harbaugh's life, where that's not how it worked out. He was the player first, and then obviously became the coach. But like we're saying, it's like when you watch an actor's movies out of order. Or even you can do this with the franchise as well, too. You're like, I watched Thor Love and Thunder first and kind of liked it. And okay, now I watched Bloodsport 3 and that's my favorite Bloodsport, even though Bloodsport 1 is the best one. But so, you just kind of get attached to this stuff by, kind of the order of introduction. I mean, that's like a common, I guess, screenwriting rule as well, too. But, it's like Davis Webb is now the offensive coordinator. And I guess Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator now as well, too. Just at some point, all of the offensive coordinators are going to be former quarterbacks that we watched as well. You are, I guess, going to have some veteran guys hanging out still as well. Can we get a list of OCs right now? I guess we could go list of OCs, NFL OCs. I think that is pretty self-explanatory there. Oh, yeah, here we go. Wikipedia, locked in. List of current offensive coordinators. Here we go. Declan Doyle. See, I can't think of Declan Doyle, play minutes here. Pete Carmichael Jr. is Denver's senior offensive assistant. Right. That's where he was at before. I was like, wait a second. How is that in the AFC East? Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. So you got him, McDaniel. So I guess Frank Reich right now for the Jets. Frank Reich is their offensive coordinator. But again, we were obviously not around watching Frank Reich play per se. Travis Switzer is any relation to Barry Switzer? Just Davis Webb, I guess, is the only one in the AFC. And then David Blau, he was a performer quarterback. Where did he? Purdue. Yeah, he played recently, I think. He began coaching in 2024. 31 I guess 2018. So he started in 2014. He started playing at Purdue over a decade ago. I guess that's not crazy Played at Cleveland. And, yeah, he was in the NFL for 4 years. Yeah, Cleveland, Detroit, Minnesota, Arizona, then Detroit again. That does seem like the backup quarterback circuit for some reason. I don't know what it is about those teams, but something about, like, I guess Orlovsky is maybe what I'm thinking of. He was at Detroit. He's not a coach, but hey, close enough, right? But David Blau, and now he's offensive coordinator for the Commanders. Oh, interesting. He was their assistant quarterback coach last year, so he was on the team. I guess I was hearing some stuff about the difference that you're getting between him and I guess what his system would be compared to what they were running with Cliff Kingsbury last year. So I guess David Blau runs a different offense. I don't know, but yeah, he's gotten to the offensive coordinating levels pretty quickly. So we'll see. Obviously, if he continues to ascend up from there. Yeah, like Press Taylor. I guess I don't know his playing days, though. Obviously, we do know coaching name. Zach Robinson is another one. Zach Robinson was, I guess, quarterback. I don't know where he quarterbacked in the NFL, but quarterbacked at Oklahoma State and was putting up numbers at OK State. That is for sure. Yeah, 7th-round pick. Oh, that's right. New England is who drafted him in 2010. So obviously he was playing behind Brady at the time. But New England, Seattle, and then Detroit. Hey, yo. And then Cincinnati was his run as well, too. And then from there, Rams, Falcons, Bucks. So from the McVay coaching tree, I guess just right up into offensive coordinator. Hey, just one season under McVay, and boom. That's all it takes. Assistant quarterback coach 2019, and then wide receiver coach 2020, assistant quarterback coach 21, passing game coordinator, quarterback coach 22 through 23, and then Atlanta hires him offensive coordinator 24-25. I guess, a lateral offensive coordinator job in some ways, obviously, going from division rival to division rival. But, was Atlanta's offense like crazy last year? I guess Baker was probably a better quarterback than Penix. But will Baker be a better quarterback than Penix? And he did obviously there was some contract stuff. I don't know if that will, play into it as well, too. I guess Tommy Rees was also, Tommy Rees, a Notre Dame quarterback as well. He quarterbacked 2010 to 2013, so pre-Blau. Hey, that might be a pause. But then started at Northwestern. So, yeah, he only played 1 year in the NFL in 2014. And then went right to Northwestern, graduate assistant, offensive assistant in San Diego, Notre Dame quarterback coach, Alabama offensive coordinator in 2023. Actually, I do remember that now. And 2023 Alabama? Let's double check this team. I guess DeBoer's third season. Hey, did they lose to Michigan in the bowl game? Is that what happened to this team? Let's see here. They did, Chad. Okay, we do like this team. Hey, but I guess Milroe was the coach, the quarterback of that team. Milroe, a very great college quarterback. Great athlete. You can definitely do a lot with him at the quarterback position. Pause. But you may not necessarily develop the traditional passing game that you would in, where's he at right now? Atlanta. I guess Penix is not as mobile as Jalen Milroe. That's for sure. Again, Jalen Milroe is legitimately one of the best athletes, at quarterback. Like, Richardson, if Jalen Milroe was taller, he would have been the Anthony Richardson of this last draft class. That's the take. Hey, if Jalen Milroe was 6'5", he would have been the number 4 pick in the draft. But because I guess he was like maybe 6, I don't know if he's like, quarterback short. I don't know if he's like 6 foot. But, if even at like 6'2", I guess just the athletic stuff wasn't as impressive as it was like 6'7" Anthony Richardson. But again, like offensively, you have more explosive ability, down the field accuracy, with Penix, hopefully, anyways, at its best. But yeah, again, another quarterback, obviously, we were watching there as well, too. I guess, never watched Nathan Hackett play any quarterback. Nathan Scalhassie is the offensive coordinator for the Rams right now. So we got to learn this guy's name because he will be a head coach in 2 years. He was the running backs coach in Illinois, then the running backs coach at Iowa State, and then passing game specialist in LA, passing game coordinator last year, and now he's moved to offensive coordinator this year. He did play in college. Okay, and I mean, again, not a hot take. Like, I assume a lot of these guys play in college. Oh, chap, from the home state. Hey, look at that. Shout out. We got to get some Nathan Scalahassie stock. Just a pause. Hey, But, we got to keep an eye on the career, I guess. Or Steelhouse, I guess. Is that how you... Oh, Chad, a little different than we were saying. Shieldhouse. Nathan Shieldhouse, I guess, is how the pronunciation is spelled out here on the Wikipedia. I guess not Shallahassie. He's not the character from Zombieland. It's not Woody Harrelson's not playing a quarterback named Nathan Shallahassee, but yeah, I guess there was. I don't remember watching a lot of Illinois football from 2009 to 2013. I don't think they were on a lot, but yeah, he was there as well too. So we'll definitely give him the credit in the group. Drew Pensing, played college football at Middlebury 2005 2006. So no disrespect to Middlebury, but again, I don't know if you count that as like teams we would have watched territory as well too. Yeah, there's no playing thing. Oh, Sean Mannion? Yeah, Sean Mannion was a quarterback as well. I'm going to say he's been an offensive coordinator, I think, already. Or he was offensive assistant, I guess, last year in Green Bay, but now is officially the offensive coordinator in Philly. So, the Jalen Hurts storylines continue of Jalen Hurts, another year, another offensive coordinator. But like we're saying, we're at least, that's at least a third, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe not a third, but so a quarter of the league is offensive coordinators. That's just offensive coordinators. I guess we could go defensive. Oh, that's just AFC. Hey, yeah. Or the NFC, that would be most of them. Anyways, Davis Webb would be 6. I guess Andrew Giacono previously served as a quarterback coach for the Seahawks. So now he's moved to the Raiders. So Giacono, is he responsible for the Sam Darnold renaissance? So he's going to be working with Mendoza. Oh, he was only, I guess, quote unquote, only. Because Sam Darnold was good in 2024, I guess, as well, too. So, again, obviously just trying to give Sam Darnold some credit here. It's not all some other guy. Actually, Sam Darnold was, actually pretty good in his own right as well, too. But just in terms of developing the systems, obviously, to increase the production. Yeah, but he was a Pro Bowler in 2024. More yards and more touchdowns in 2024 as well, too, in Minnesota. Hey, oh, that's right. He wouldn't have been in Seattle for he was in Seattle for 1 year and won a Super Bowl, chat. Hey, yo. I just put him there for 2 years in my mind. Pause. But the last 2 seasons, anyways, he has been excelling from a number standpoint. That is for sure. And obviously, some greater success, outside of just the numbers as well. 14 wins, obviously crazy team success there in the regular season. But yeah, Giacono would have been with the Saints, would have been with the Bears before that. So, Bears 2022 to 2023. I don't know if that's the highlight of the Bears team. And Saints 2024 as well, too. But it's a good thing he went to Seattle in 2025. So maybe, again, it's one of those, did Sam Darnold get Giacono hired to the Raiders? I don't know. But, and, Mendoza is pretty good as well, too. We've definitely compared him to, again, like the high end. Is there some Andrew Luck level high end? I don't know. But I guess we haven't made those comparisons. I just, there is like a nerdy way he carries himself that is pretty similar. But, again, Sam Darnold, the way Sam Darnold has played these last couple of years, like that type of high-end play might be a good, top tier comp for Mendoza as well, too. If he's getting to that type of impact in the league, obviously that's just a really, really impactful player that can win a Super Bowl. We just saw it. And, if the point is, I guess that could be the type of player that, maybe if Giacono's even not like a great offensive coordinator, it might not even matter. But, again, he had a great system last year in Seattle, so we do have to give him credit for that. And O'Connell was a big part of that Minnesota team that Darnold was a part of. So he has potentially been with 2 good quarterback, workers as well. So, that's obviously still a possibility that he has just been in 2 good situations the past couple of years. But, yeah, I guess, again, for his playing years. Oh, he played at Pitt. Okay, he did play at Pitt. And I was going to say, maybe there was something a little familiar about that. What was it? 7 to 10? I don't know. There would have to have been a random ACC game that we would have watched. Giacono. Let's see if we can we pull up a game log here and see, did they Clemson in 07 to that range? They wouldn't have quite started to pop off yet. So I don't know who would have been the ACC team at the time that we would have been watching. I think that would have been right at the tail run of the Miami era as well, too. I think maybe like 05 is obviously maybe things start to turn around then. So I think maybe 07, they're not, the U in the same type of way. So maybe Florida State in 07. Did Giacono have a game against would Jameis Winston have been around at that time? I don't know. How do you spell this guy's name? Andrew Giacono. I guess we already messed it up, chat. It is what it is. We just have to go for Pitt 2007. I guess is probably the best way. Not Kyle Pitts. He was not playing in 2007. Was Pat Narduzzi coaching all the way back then? One of the great coach names that we have, Pat Narduzzi. But oh no, Wannstedt was the coach. Speaking of Fox announcers, 5-7 in 2007. Shout out to Jacona. Oh, they did get to 2009. They were 10-3. So let's see what we have here for this team. I guess that's because Bill Stoll was the quarterback, not Jacona. 15th in the AP poll. Let's see. The year before they finished 9-4. They were okay. Again, Stoll. Oh, Jacono, here we go. He was, I guess, maybe not playing that much. So I guess maybe maybe we're forcing a memory pause that we don't have. They did have LaShawn McCoy though. Good to stumble on LaShawn McCoy's stat page every now and then. I didn't mean to wander over here, but now that we're here, we might as well click on it and see. 21 touchdowns for LaShawn McCoy, Chad. As a sophomore there in 2008. As a freshman, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, and then 1,400 yards, 21 touchdowns. Shout out. 53rd overall pick in the draft. Obviously, pretty much a Hall of Fame career there for McCoy. I guess he might be coaching now as well too. It feels like he should have been in that podcaster coach conversation that got kind of that was starting to go there, because I guess Dion is kind of the lead of that going to Colorado, but then like Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson both go into coach as well too. Like, did Brandon Marshall go to coach the receiver? I don't think he did. But I don't know. It seemed like LaShawn McCoy should have jumped in there and got a coaching job as well. And, Brandon Marshall, not to just say that, they can't all be in the media, but I'm just saying, like, it seemed like there would have been a coaching lane for them as well, too. But yeah, I guess, Pitt, 2008, LaShawn McCoy's team. And I guess maybe Darnold would have been here as well. He would have been almost around this time, maybe right afterwards. Did I say Darnold? Aaron Donald is what I was talking about. Aaron Donald, 2010-13. So he would have been post Jacono, I guess. So that's probably why they were so. Oh no, 2009 was the year that I'm thinking of. 2013. Oh, and they were in the Big East, I guess, technically before that as well too. So 2013 was the first year that Pitt was in the ACC. Just a little Pitt history lesson for you. Pitt football history. 18.5 sacks as a junior, 28.5 sacks as a senior for Aaron Donald. The Nagurski Award, the Benrick Award, All-American. Yeah, he's definitely going to win those. That's for sure. Oh, tackles for a loss. My bad. 28.5 tackles for a loss. Still, crazy impressive. Led the nation as well, too. Tom Savage was the quarterback. They had a quarterback named Tom Savage, who I think, was he like the Texans backup as well, too? How is Tom Savage not a coach? He might be somewhere. But, we had Tom Savage. We have Tyler Boyd and James Conner, chat. Oh, this team was good. Look at this. 2013 Pitt. How are they 7-6? You have Aaron Donald and James Conner. Take all these guys on a fantasy team. That might be, pause. But either way, there were definitely some good, productive players here. That is for sure. That's the start of a very good offense. Again, if you have Tyler Boyd and James Conner at your best in the NFL, like, you're doing pretty good. You may be like a wild card type team, but that's still, pretty productive there. They, I guess, got killed by Florida State to start. New Mexico, they did it pretty good. Duke, 55-58. Can we find this game on the YouTube? 2013 Pitt versus Duke, 55-58. Who's the quarterback for Duke? Brandon Connett. Still don't know. But Tom Savage just throwing heat in this game. 23 for 33, 424, and 6 touchdowns. James Conner, 26 for 173 and a touchdown. Is this game out there? Let me see. I mean, we had pretty good success of finding games so far. I imagine 2013, new enough. 2013, Tom Savage versus Conant. 2013, Pitt versus, oh no, not Lit. Pitt versus Duke football. Yeah, let's see. This game's got to be a classic game. ACC. Put this up as like a classic game, or Pitt or somebody. Can we get a classic rerun of this game somewhere on the YouTube? Oh, I was going to say somebody posted it, but it's Duke versus Wake Forest. Much more, I guess, probably much more depressing of a game to watch. There are some highlight reels here that we could queue up, but I feel like this archive should be on the ACC Classics. Like we were saying, the NBA, and they haven't done this as much since COVID, which is a bummer, and they should get back to doing it because it is just, great for obviously promoting the history of the league and keeping the archive alive, and would be really interesting for the summer as well too if they were really pushing this on the YouTube. But and not to say that they does NBA need the views, but they were really dumping classic games on us during the summer there during the no NBA time in COVID. And it did go into the summer. Obviously, they brought the league back in August, but so there was in the time of a traditional NBA break. But again, it's because we were paused from NBA play. It was a little bit different. So they were feeding us with other NBA games, and now we have this amazing archive just from the NBA perspective of classic games that are posted. And maybe they still do just kind of randomly drop those out there as well too. Like if I go to the NBA's YouTube channel, like what's their latest classic game post? If it's not too recently, I guess we'll not look too far for it. They do have a bunch of different live events, different youth tournaments and stuff, Nike tournaments and things that they do broadcast as well too. So it could get lost in the shuffle there. Because again, if you're live broadcasting all of those games in a network type of way, like hey, you can really scroll through here, and we've got the EYBL tournament, which I guess I don't know exactly what it stands for, but that's a pretty big AAU type tournament there. So yeah, like we might have to scroll on the videos for a while before we find like a classic game posted. But I guess the playlist here might not even be top-notch playlist. Probably been a minute since they've updated that one. But again, the point is they did have a lot to add to the archive there. They added a lot to the archive for games that are just accessible on YouTube now for classic games. And again, obviously there is the archive of people uploading those games themselves and having, just the random posts like we're saying. But, why doesn't the NBA just throw up more classic games? Like, who cares? The game's already over. And, and yes, there is that league pass aspect of it, especially maybe games from the last 10 to 15 years. Like, do you want the person to sign up for league pass and to go back? But again, there's so many NBA games. Like, I think you can post a couple. You can keep posting them. And guess what? Hopefully there's going to be more. So it's, as time goes, like by the time, you used up all your NBA games, hopefully you've, played enough more NBA games and had some more classics to be able to upload those as well too. Like, would you upload a classic game from 5 years ago? But again, 5 years from now, you upload a classic game from this season and it's technically a classic game. But, they should definitely upload more of those. Like the NFL should upload more of those. And, again, especially in the NCAA, like all of these, league or conference YouTube channels and all these team YouTube channels, like what are we doing? And I know the game rights are a little bit different. Like maybe Texas has their own game rights, but then the Big Ten owns the game rights and not an individual team owns the game rights or whatever. And I know that Texas and the SEC, I'm just talking two different scenarios, but again, like why is this 55 to 58 game just not on YouTube? Like, am I going to just the hopes that I, tune into ACC Classics channel on cable and catch it? Like, I'm sorry, the odds of that, I'm not going to tune into the ACC Classics channel for that. But if it is on YouTube, it might get thrown on. And, again, there is just going to be a increased knowledge of Pitt football, the Pitt football history, again, that type of brand recognition, building the brand recognition among the fans. But, just continuing to push the history of the sport is going to help the future of the sport as well, too. And that for, all the sports. Ayo, that's not even like a hot take wise statement. That's just a fact in all things of life. Hey, yo. But and that's just us trying to campaign to get this 55 to 58 game free on YouTube. Hey, yo. Is really what it is. Maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe the tapes were different back in 2013. Again, like we're really locked in now. Like, and maybe we're not even as locked in as we thought. There are probably still some games that we're like, how do we not have access to this? But, I would say that the archive of storing games, especially the last 10, 15 years, of course, is almost probably automatic for every major game. But, again, maybe in 2013, they weren't automatically thinking just random ACC game. Like, oh, let's just save the memory for this game. Like, who knows where the broadcast went. Hey, yo. But, how can I not see James Conner run for 170 yards in this game? It's going to be one of the best games of his career. I mean, I'm sure he had some 200-yarders in there as well, too. But, hey, yo, what a barn burner, chat. And then Aaron Donald, we didn't even see if Aaron Donald was like tearing it up. Did he get paused? Did he get some sacks in here? Let's see if we can get some defensive stats if they have him listed. Donald, where's our guy? Chad, I assume he did something in this game. Okay, yeah, one sack, 2 tackles for a loss, just casual, Aaron Donald performance, as you do. They did have 3 picks though, as well too. Jason Hendricks snagging a pick, Anthony Gonzalez, and Shane Gordon. So Knet, I didn't see the 4 interceptions. Hey, who got number 4? Kawan Williams got number 4. Lafayette Pitts. Oh, chat, we thought Kyle Pitts was a great name. Lafayette Pitts is, maybe just moved up in the power rankings. Gotta be honest. But, yeah, I guess, I don't know exactly that. Bills, I don't know how we Bills to Aaron Donald. But offensive coordinators, I guess, shout out, all the offensive coordinators out there doing a great job. But NFL training camp notes, what else do we got out there? I guess the Kyler Murray, JJ McCarthy battle has officially been settled, at least for week 1, because it does seem now like, unfortunately for us Michigan fans, that Kyler Murray will be taking the job. I guess we don't have a Minnesota page designated here, but he will be getting the week 1 start. I don't think that is a hot take necessarily for, or a shock to see that would happen. But, again, is this the end of the road for McCarthy? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Again, comparing the draft talent, obviously, I think he was drafted for a specific thing. And it was literally to quarterback a team. But it's that, I'm not trying to use the term game manager, but it is a little of the game manager drafting scenario where you saw him, captain a really, really good Michigan team. And you figure, of course, with any quarterback, but you figure if you have a really good roster around him, that, again, JJ McCarthy could captain that roster. It's a little like we were saying with receivers, where can you get just receivers that move the chains to some degree? You don't always need, 40-yard plays. It's great to have, and you're looking for it. But if you have receivers that move the chains, that work as well too. Same for the quarterbacks. It's like, is the quarterback going to just consistently do positive things for us time and time again? Again, he may not consistently be the most explosive, creative, best quarterback in the league, but he's going to be consistently productive for him. And that is what McCarthy was for Michigan in that championship run. Even if it was really reliant on the run, and again, the defense was really, really good, McCarthy was a really, really good captain for that team. And Minnesota was that formula, of course. So, again, is McCarthy going to go to, the Jets and just revitalize that team? Like, that might not be a scenario where he just, lifts up that franchise despite the talent in that type of way, but, again, like if I'm thinking about it, like New York, like if it's week 8 and week 6, I guess I don't remember, what the trade deadline's at, even like week 5, and it seems like, okay, Kyler Murray's going to be this guy for this year. Like maybe you throw something out there for JJ McCarthy. Because again, I think the pick was specific to Minnesota. It's a little like Bo Nix, and I have to even go back and remember, was it the same class for McCarthy and Nix? But both those guys were the same situation of teams trying to reset the quarterback position, specifically trying to reset it around a rookie contract as well too, and kind of get the favorability of that. And, being a little bit forced to take the quote unquote best available in a first round, where maybe that would be a little slightly higher than expected. Now, again, Bo Nix is maybe, really delivering on that, hopefully, as well too, as he gets back healthy. But, again, hopefully, like I'm saying, hopefully this is not the end of the line for JJ McCarthy. And, Kyler Murray, his game's probably been underrated the last couple of years, make no mistake. But, again, Arizona did move on from him. So that's not, a hot take. Teams are switching out quarterbacks all the time. Again, it is a contract thing as well, too. He was definitely under a bigger deal there in Arizona, for sure. Obviously, for a while, they were one of the bigger ones in the league. Pause. But, again, it's not set in stone that Kyler Murray is going to just win 10 games this year for Minnesota. Now, on the other hand, it is like, probably the best roster that he's ever played with as well, too. Like, Minnesota is really, really good. So if Kyler Murray ever is going to be a legit game manager plus at the quarterback position, this is definitely going to be the roster for him to be able to do that. Last year in Arizona, he was 2-3 with 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. For his career, he's 2-1. So, again, pretty good. 121 to 60. You'll definitely take that. Been in a couple of Pro Bowls earlier on. Back-to-back comeback player of the year voting ballot appearances. Not getting the win, but, being injured and returning. So people are recognizing that. But, again, the last two, especially with returning 10 touchdowns, 5 picks in 2023, 11 touchdowns, or 10 touchdowns, 11 picks in 2024, 3,800 yards there. And, completion percentage can be a little faulty these days, but, again, 60%. You're not working with nothing, obviously, if you're Minnesota. And again, like I'm saying, the best team win wise would have been, I guess, for him, this 9-5 team in 2021. His best individual season, I guess his value assignment for those years is kind of the same both wise. Advanced stats are a little bit better in 2021. So I think we can comfortably say a little bit that this is his best season. Lost in the wild card of the Rams 11-34. So, again, there is a different sort of, a second layer to football there as well, too. And they started off the season obviously great. So did we go back and look Kyler Murray since this moment in 2021? What has that been like? But again, it's 2026 as well now too. So, is he going to be this type of guy that could be sneaky, the sixth, fifth best quarterback in the league when he's really, really cooking? Because, again, at his best, Kirk Cousins could be on a given week the seventh best quarterback in the league. Sam Darnold was arguably playing now, especially now that it's Super Bowl, arguably playing the best quarterback in the NFC the last couple of years. So it's not like they have really gotten that game manager play as well too. They have gotten, above average to really, really good play at the quarterback spot. So, there is a little bit of a bar there for Kyler Murray to get to, again, for them to obviously just be that type of playoff competitive as well too. They're not going to be, it's not like the 2000s Ravens where Kyler Murray just, show up and play quarterback and they'll be fine. But, again, 14-3 with Darnold, 9-8 last year is somehow impressive as well too, but 7-10 in 2023, and then 13-3 in 2022, the first year with McConnell, and that was a great season as well. Jefferson was cooking that year. Again, Cousins was playing pretty well. What do we got here for Cousins? 13-4 is the starter. 8 game-winning drives for Kirk Cousins. And that was the thing that I was gonna say, is that year they did have a ton of lucky breaks that year. So not to say that it wasn't a legit 13-4 season, but that might have been, what was their expected win total going into the season here? Over under 9.5. So that very much could have been a 10-win team that got 3 extra breaks that they shouldn't have over the course of the year. And again, didn't really have any bad luck. I guess, do we go to the playoffs and see what happened? They lost to the Giants, and I think they did just kind of lose that game as well, too. Again, was that the Daniel Jones game? So, it's not Eli Manning sneaky, the Giants won the Super Bowl this year. I almost had to recalibrate and think, well, they, at least they lost to the Super Bowl champion. Nope, that's not the case. Daniel Jones, just the one playoff game that he's ever won, it did happen to be Kirk Cousins. Again, once you get to the second layer of football, the conversation does change a little bit. But the regular season side of things that, you're probably trying to get back on track for here for Minnesota. Again, it's not a guarantee that you're better than, I guess, 9 wins with Kyler Murray. But again, I'm not necessarily 100% shocked as well, too, about the way that this played out here. But they had, oh yeah, that's right, Carson Wentz. Hey, yo. I was trying to remember who else they had besides McCarthy. McCarthy was 6-4 last year. Somehow 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, but 2 wins over 500 somehow as well, too. 57% completion percentage. Hey, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Every number on paper is better for Kyler Murray than J.J. McCarthy, and somehow J.J. McCarthy has a better winning percentage than Kyler Murray. Again, it's a small sample size, but J.J. McCarthy has won 60% of his games versus Kyler Murray right now. His career win total, 38-48. And again, 9-5, but the back half of that season was definitely a little bit of a struggle. And since going 9-5, and now remember, we are Michigan fans, so there's going to be a defensive McCarthy there as well, too. And he did win us a national title. So we're indebted to his quarterback play, chat. It is what it is. We do have to defend him on the NFL stage. That is the goal, or that is the agreement. He wins us a national title at Michigan. We defend his honor on the national stage when he needs to. But so in that case, Kyler Murray, his last 41 games. Again, the number's pretty good. 200 and what do on pace over that course of if that was a season, 3,700 yard seasons. I guess what's per game? I guess 220 yards per game. Pretty productive. 90 quarterback rating. 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, almost perfectly again. 51 touchdowns to 26 interceptions. 67% completion percentage. Still, he's 16-25 in the last 41 games. He loses 2 out of every 1 games. And again, the talent, we can't. The team is better. Sorry, hydration timeout. It is a better scenario for him, but is it better to the point where he's going to be, a 70% win quarterback here in the regular season or something like that and win the division? Or, again, are we going to get 3 J.J. McCarthy starts in the middle of the year as well, too? We're still holding out hope, chat. It is a possibility that J.J. McCarthy can be got. And again, like the Jets, I guess, are a possibility as well, too. I guess I'm trying to think who else would jump out. Oh, Miami was sticking the AFC South. Miami could also bring in McCarthy potentially. You have Malik Willis right now. And no disrespect, but I'm just saying if you're going for, at least the draft pedigree of it. And obviously, again, J.J. McCarthy, throughout his career has been a highly touted prospect. So there is just going to be those opportunities that are, kind of assigned to him there as well, too. I guess the other one would be would Pittsburgh bring McCarthy in on just take a flyer as again, the thing is you would need him to start almost less than Minnesota as well, too. Because Minnesota's always going to have the draft attachment too as well. But, again, I think Pittsburgh is a little more resigned to the Rodgers situation, if that makes sense. They were going into the offseason anyways with, hey, we have nothing left besides Rodgers, so I guess this is the best we can do in some ways. So they're kind of already okay with that. So, again, if it's not like J.J. McCarthy's going to, win. I guess he could, obviously, if they brought him in. It's like, oh, he's tearing this up. We got to, or like Mike McCarthy just has to play his guy. He's like, is this my son? My long-lost son? Well, now I have to play J.J. McCarthy. I don't know what the scenario would be there. But, again, at least it's just because they're a team that's in that mix for Anthony Richardson as well, too. Where it's like we bring him in. He doesn't have to play this year at all. If he did, that'd be incredible. But, we just have him on the team. And if in training camp, we continue to work with him. And in training camp, he just hits and we have a guy, then we took an amazing flyer. And maybe because of still the physical attributes, of course, you're still probably going to bet on Anthony Richardson as a player before J.J. McCarthy. It is what it is. Again, Anthony Richardson got drafted higher as well, too. So that just is what the NFL even said at the times of their respective drafts. But, the mechanics of finding that value if you don't have, again, access to just taking a franchise guy, it is at least a swing. And, again, it may be like a 7th round pick. McCarthy was a 1st round pick, but who knows if they're really happy with Murray. And again, the rest of the pieces are falling into place. You just cut your losses, I guess, and keep it moving. And you take the pick that you can get and, you have the roster that you have. But Pittsburgh would be a sneaky, watch and see if he were to go there. Houston, Stroud stuff starts to go down there. I guess Indy, we have to put Indy on the list. Who was I thinking for Indy recently? Maybe it was Lamar, where people started to talk about, or no, it was Jaden Daniels. Again, speaking of the shorts, I was watching a short where it was also Simmons, and he was talking about, is this the Jaden Daniels deal? I almost said it was with Mila Kunis. It was not Mila Kunis. It was Mita Kimes. Mila Kunis talking about football would be a different situation, though. Shout out. I'm sure she, has takes. But I guess, do we have to tread lightly with the shout outs? I'm trying to remember the Wikipedia page there for, the Mila Ashton Kutcher combo. But either way, for, what are we saying? For the Mila Kunis takes on the NFL, it was, is this the Jaden Daniels watch season? Do we have to put Jaden Daniels in a different tier of quarterback after this year if he doesn't play, whatever? I was like, you know what? Hopefully the league starts to view Jaden Daniels differently, because I would love it if the Colts trade for Jaden Daniels. Obviously, I couldn't necessarily have loved it if the Colts traded for RG3 back in the day, because, again, RG3 was in the same draft as Andrew Luck. But I'm not going to lie. I was, from an entertainment side of it, I was like, we can't go wrong here. Like, I'm gonna have a fun watching either of these quarterbacks, but Andrew Luck obviously, and that was a little in college as well too. Like RG3 was obviously a super dynamic college player. I mean, won the Heisman, and I'm gonna give him his credit. Like he won the rookie. He won. Yeah, when he was competing at the peak of his powers, he was winning the awards over Luck. So it's like it was a comparison there. Yeah, again, the physicality, obviously, Luck's durability. Again, it did play a factor into the college as well too, to some degree. But there was I was probably like 60-40 because the NFL, again, the community was so strong at the time. It's like you have to take Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's the guy, and it was a great pick as well too. Again, Andrew Luck was a great quarterback. The football talent of itself obviously was not the problem there. That totally worked out, and there was really no problem with Andrew Luck whatsoever. The problem was with the rest of the team. But I was legit 60-40 at the time. I was like, if we, if we did take RG3, that would be kind of cool. And I guess, again, I guess we did make the right choice. I guess the right choice actually would have been Russell Wilson back in the day. But the point is, I guess, I couldn't have had that same trade factor because, again, like we're saying, Andrew Luck was already there. But now we can. Hey, Daniel Jones is not the same sort of, lockdown franchise guy as Andrew Luck. So if there is some, Washington Commanders fans, some Washington people in the front office that are starting to look at the Jane Daniels thing and go, oh, you know what? I don't know what's going on there. You know what? I know what solves your problems. Just send him to Indianapolis and we'll take him. That's fine. That's fine. If we have to trade for Jaden Daniels, I guess we'll trade for Jaden Daniels. Oh no, it is what it is. But yeah, I guess they wouldn't necessarily be JJ McCarthy plays as well too. I guess I was gonna throw out the Lions, but I don't think the Lions would be. The Panthers, I guess, they Hayes King's looking pretty good, so maybe not JJ McCarthy anymore. And the Saints, again, Shuck could at least be maybe an average starter in the league, so you don't have to pursue anything in free agency. If the opportunity in the draft arises, you take advantage of it there. And maybe Arizona, maybe McCarthy, maybe it's just like the flip. They should have just done a trade. McCarthy for Kyler Murray. I guess the question would be the McCarthy Carson Beck argument. Hey, McCarthy Carson Beck versus. You guys didn't expect that here on the REMINGTOM pod, but we had that queued up here for one of the last segments of the night. JJ McCarthy versus Carson Beck. Who's a better quarterback, Mike? I tell you what, I've been watching tape of these guys all offseason. It's pretty clearly JJ McCarthy. Now, I mean, Carson. I guess I would say Carson Beck maybe had some better preseason moments, but I don't know. JJ McCarthy was throwing bombs down the sideline to Justin Jefferson. So again, is there a level that he can get back to? As well too, untapped potential for JJ McCarthy, but for Arizona again, that at least is something there. If they feel like they have a different opportunity to pursue outside of Carson Beck, but I guess I am starting to buy in on the idea of McCarthy in New York. I'm just like I guess we didn't throw out Cleveland as an option, but again, I think they're Deshore. Hey our streak of combining names and words tonight is crazy. We said tree for creating training. We said whatever we just said there. But Deshore, but Deshore Satson, Deshore Wanders, I guess would really be the guy. Deshore Wanders. But so Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback batter there. But again, you assume like that's a either or for the rest of the season. There's not that outside we have to look somewhere else. Like the Jets might have to like look somewhere else at some point. They're like Geno Smith or Brady Cook. Hey, and I don't even know who the other Miami guys. Is Tua still a free agent? Did Tua retire? Or is it Tua and Malik Willis right now are the guys? Oh no, they have Quinn Ewers is the other sneaky guy there as well too. Do Quinn Ewers Google search here real quick. Let's see if we can get some news on Quinn Ewers. Off-season doesn't mean off. Reebok Nano X Edge keeps my training sharp all summer. Hashtag Reebok partner. Okay, so we got him doing Reebok ads. I guess on his Instagram. That's something. Dolphins just raised the stakes for Quinn Ewers with latest QB move. Chad Perkins. A few Dolphins, including Edwards and Taffel, have sworn off social media. Dolphins quarterback put on notice. He's been trash. Oh no, Chad. Ewers is apparently not competing for the job. Dolphins QB Quinn Ewers wants to play but embraces backing up Malik Willis. Yeah, it looks like that is where things are trending for him. Okay, so never mind. Moving on from the Quinn Ewers stock. It is what it is. Pause. So yeah, they have Willis right now as their guy. We're gonna check Tua. Did he go to Atlanta? Yeah, he did go to Atlanta. Hey yo, so they have Tua and Michael Penix. the best left-handed quarterbacks of all time, the best left-handed quarterback room of all time. Not obviously the number one. It was Steve Young was left-handed, and then what? Boomer Esiason. So did Boomer Esiason also play with a left-handed quarterback? Maybe Scott Mitchell be a little lefty in there as well, but we got the double lefty with Tua and Penix, and then maybe they bring in Tebow at some point to be the coach. I don't know. So I guess we'll see Tua backing up Penix in 2026, and I guess yeah again no McCarthy sense there as well. McCarthy in for an injured Mahomes, McCarthy for Fields as a potential. I don't know, but yeah, I guess again, well, Kyler Murray is definitely going to be the exciting fantasy move of it, not just for Kyler Murray, but getting Jefferson back to potentially more consistent production. Again, Addison as well too, even Hawkinson as tight end might be important as all of them because of the fact that again, some of the tight end depth over the past couple of years has maybe been a little hit or miss from time to time. But yeah, we got again some quarterback news there in Minnesota. Seattle Super Bowl champions. We got notes on Seattle, but again, mostly focused on. We were talking about the new offensive coordinators, or just the offensive coordinators earlier. They do have a new one this year, as of course the Super Bowl teams can get poached off a little bit. But it does seem like the defense is impressed as well. Again, probably a little bit of gassing up their own team in some ways. I don't know if this is a version of the Seahawks team where the offensive defense fight all the time. Maybe they get along a little bit better. But still, it does seem like they are impressed with stuff that is going on right now with the offense there. So, they aren't necessarily, I guess the Rams are number one. And then what? We said Seattle is number two. Right now, they're number two, but they're almost double the odds behind the Rams. The Rams are at 5-1, and Seattle's at 11-1. So I get it with the Myles Garrett thing, but again, that Seahawks team is really, really talented. That defense is really, really good. And I guess we can double check who they're running back here as well too. They did, I guess, did Kobe Bryant leave? Was he on the Super Bowl roster, or did he leave last 2 years ago? I would double check that. But again, they are bringing back a lot of the stars as well too. Leonard Williams, Witherspoon, of course, gets the number one Pro Football PFF rating here at the quarterback spot. Julian Love, who was making some of those quotes, is still back. DeMarcus Lawrence, Eman Wari. So you're really running back most of the defense. Even get Murphy taking maybe taking a step forward in the offseason as well too. Thomas, who's the safety that I'm not remembering here? Rodney Thomas, the second. Did he have a Colts run in there? He may have had a Colts run. This may be a Colts jersey that is in the photo that he's wearing. And he was a very, very, Rodney out of Yale. Yeah, I think the Colts did draft this guy. And he was pretty good as well too. I mean, the PFF grade, I guess, is maybe leading our decision to say that. But I'm not saying he was the starting safety, but if he's your third, you're in a good spot. And their defensive backfield is so strong right now that I think that he is going to really play nicely for him there. Shaheed took a step up in the playoffs. I guess he's going to move maybe into a more predominant outside role as well too, especially now that they have him for a full season. Bringing in Price to pick up for Kenneth Walker is, of course, like kind of a good move as well too. So a Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl rematch, a conference finals rematch. I guess we'd have to double check that as well too. Teams if both teams were in the conference finals, what's the likelihood that two of the final four teams from the previous year rematch in the Super Bowl? And also, the conference championship loser as well. I know the Super Bowl hangover is the number one thing that people talk about there. But, again, there could be some conference championship hangover as well, too. That could be a, historical thing to go back and track there as well. But, yeah, Seattle still on, I guess, hot watch here as we hit the offseason. Eman Wari has a chance to return week 1. I guess, again, him being back for the season would be more important there. Seahawks receiver dynamic is interesting as the coaches are excited about Troy Horton, who is, now that he's fully healthy after cracking his tibia last season. Cup will remain a factor with his football IQ and rapport with Darnold, and team officials say they feel as if he's moving well at age 33. Hey, for an old receiver, he gets around okay. Expect Seattle to mix and match and find enough snaps for both Cup and Horton. really JSN is the only player who won't come off the field much. So JSN still, number one receiver in fantasy type stuff, but it looks like there's a little Troy Horton love there as well too to potentially keep an eye on. John Schneider knew that Seattle couldn't bring back everyone, and limited draft capital. Seahawks had pass rush high on the list. They ultimately didn't fill that spot, but they still have a very very strong defensive line, so that's not a weakness of the team per se. But it may not be start to A to Z what they want there. Some Raiders news here in the training camp diary. This is we got Cousins Max Crosby practice scuffle at some point as well too. Again, in a situation obviously with Cousins being the starter as the veteran guy, but it looks like the Mendoza Cousins Raiders news is staying kind of the same at this point. It says, so when Mendoza plays, it's impossible to say the Raiders don't have a set date, but they believe they'll know when they see it. They liked what Mendoza has shown in practice, and he's already made his share of rookie mistakes. They want to clean up those areas of the game. So, maybe a little learning curve there for Mendoza. Some practice turnovers, it looks like. My history with Clint is the biggest reason why coming here made sense to me, Cousins said. Comfort level with Clint in the system. I think he's doing a great job as a first-year head coach, installing his culture in a system. I think guys are rallying behind it. Time will tell. We've got to turn it into wins and have a great season. So that really helps for him as well, too. Having a quarterback that knows his system could help him obviously install that for him having to approach that as the head coach for the first time there. But again, obviously, like we're saying, it's on Mendoza watch as well. The Raiders say that G&T was a tough tackle in 2025 when they got him to second level on defense. They don't feel as if they did a good job of getting him out of space. Rookie Mike Washington Jr. is the player behind G&T, and teams like him a lot. But it looks like Las Vegas is planning for G&T's role only to get bigger. The team believes he's capable of much more. They're like, oh no, we still got 400 more carries for G&T this year. Don't worry. Crosby is looking fully healthy and is all in on being a Raider. Hey, that's right. We did have the crazy the Kawhi thing. Obviously, maybe underrates this a little bit, and has different maneuverings going on because it has some outside circumventing the salary caps type stuff. But we did have the rescinded trade similarity where, of course, the Clippers trade is on pause right now until Kawhi can get it figured out. Once it gets figured out, he just goes right to the Clippers. But the trade for Crosby to the Ravens, of course, did get back because of the physical. So it's not something that we see too often. But I forgot that, Crosby was almost on Baltimore there for a second. Obviously, tough loss for the Raiders. Or tough loss for the Ravens. But, the Mendoza thing now does make this a little interesting. Kwity Paye, they bring in as well, too. Wide receiver, still a spot with a lot of questions, since they don't really have a true X receiver and are looking for some players to step up in camp. They signed Jalen Naylor, who think can offer more than he showed behind first-round picks Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And third-round pick Trey Tucker is probably the best player in the group. The Raiders say he can take a big step forward. Second-year players Jack Beck and Dante Thornton have been inconsistent in camp. Oh, Chad. Hey, you hate to see it. 6th-round rookie Malik Benson from Oregon has flashed a lot and gotten a lot of outside attention for his performance, but needs to show he can sustain his performance outside of controlled practice environment. I mean, of course. So what are you getting credit for the fact that we're not criticize him to the fact that we're not to the season yet? I mean, if he's crushing the opportunity that's in front of him, that's what's important. It says, they have Bowers. That's right. And Mayer as well, too. But Bowers as a lead is that Kelsey type lead where you can obviously have your tight end be your number one receiver, and he can put up receiver level numbers. So Bowers as your 1, Trey Tucker as your 2, Malik Benson as your 3. There you go. A little core there for you. Left tackle Colton Miller is back and healthy. Raiders drafted 4 defensive backs, including Gerard McCoy out of Tennessee. McCoy was viewed by some of his first-round talent, but fell into the 4th because of some health concerns. He sat out of practice the day I was there, but the team said it was part of the recovery plan first week. They expect McCoy to be healthy for week 1, though he's getting back up in terms of speed and being in shape with the football. The Raiders have been impressed with the 5th-round pick. Different guy here. Okay. The Raiders have been impressed with 5th-round pick Hezekiah Masses from Cal. They go back, it says they'll go back and read all the disclaimers about Benson, re-sign Stokes, and are hoping to have 2025 3rd-round pick Darian Porter take a second-year leap. They have
they're loaded with rookies at corner and safety positions who can also have a chance to move up quietly. Corner and defensive tackle are the two spots that they are sorting through potential answers for new defensive coordinator, Rod Leonard. Oh, chat, the Jets notes have to be depressing. Come on, we got to read this just to find something happy here to flip for the Jets fans. It says David Bailey and Armand Membu battles on the edge are sign of things to come. Oh, you know what? That's pretty good. You got two of the franchise cornerstones. You know, again, iron sharpens iron, making each other better. There, it sounds as if Bailey and Membu, the prize back-to-back top picks of general manager Darren Mogi, have been going at it all camp. So I caught up with Membu on the low to get the lowdown on the Jets rusher. It says Bailey has been giving me a lot of work. His speed off the ball is great, and he knows how to go from speed to power. It didn't take long for Membu to realize the Jets have a great player in Bailey who has refined pass rush skills for rookie. It will pair with Will McDonald and form a solid edge duo. The battles between Bailey have not affected Membo's confidence. Oh, he might be getting cooked a little bit, is what's being implied. Pro Bowl and All Pros are great, but I want when I that rookie. Okay, wait. Hey, take two. Pro Bowl and All Pros are great, but I want is when that rookie DN comes into the room, hey yo, and asks his vets who is the best tackle in the league, and I want them to say number 70 from the Jets. He's that dude. That's my kind of mentality. I guess is the quote from Membo there on the Jets. So two franchise cornerstones. I guess making each other better. Again, Membo has no quarterback to sack because the Jets have no quarterback, and David Bailey has no quarterback to protect because the Jets have no quarterback. But they do have the building block pieces of building within the trenches, which is important. You know, Garrett Wilson, I guess, still there. That's right. They got Adonai Mitchell in a trade from Indy as well. He could be a fun piece for them, but even an easy receiver for a quarterback to get the ball to. Like they can throw it down the field to him, but if you're throwing screens and stuff and easy passes there, like he can, easily create yards after the catch as well too. I almost forgot who we traded him for. Sauce Gardner? Hey, yo, chat, did we defend that trade? Oh, no, we're giving up Arch Manning. It is what it is. But, yeah, I guess the Jets, a fourth round pick, Cade Klubnik, has been eyeing the QB2 role. Good preseason performances would aid his case. He should be able to beat out Brady Cook and Bailey Zappa. The early signs are promising. That's good that, honestly, very good sign for Klubnik that he's able to easily handle Cook and Zabka because, again, Bailey Zabka, what did he throw, like 7 touchdowns in a game one time? 6 touchdowns? So, he can play well. Again, obviously, as he channeled that same energy. And Brady Cook as well did definitely get thrown into the starting lineup versus, a traditional win the quarterback type job last year. But as a fourth round pick, again, they are seeing the field. So Cade Klubnik as that middle of the draft type of guy, like if he is easily getting over other productive backups in the league, at least again that path for him is starting to reassemble because he was definitely a guy that was arguably going to be a top five pick at some point in his, recruiting cycle. But again, and that is a good swing as well too. Again, we were talking about the swing for McCarthy, but I gotta be honest, like I do kind of like a Klubnik in the 4th round swing over trading for McCarthy. Again, if you're gonna give up a 7th round pick to bring in McCarthy, like you gotta just throw that out there and do that. But man, I don't even like I'm getting too aggressive here. I don't prefer Cade Klubnik's game versus McCarthy's college game as well too. Like it maybe is a more traditional label, better passer situation, at least from a check the boxes standpoint. And maybe a little bigger, more physical as well too. But again, McCarthy led us to the national championship. Like I'm totally fine having JJ McCarthy as a quarterback in an NCAA situation. But in an NFL situation, I wouldn't be shocked if Klubnik was the better guy. And if he wins the number 2, again, that's that type of situation where you're just kind of waiting for the Geno Smith experiment to turn a certain way, and then you can at least take a shot and see what you have with Klubnik early on and see if you can set him up for something, fun, successful there. But again, a good swing. I don't know if Klubnik's going to be the savior of the franchise for the Jets. If this is their Jalen Brunson in their backup role. But, again, he could maybe provide some extra stability there for
the quarterback spot for him. Steelers defense, Steelers notes chat. Hey, we got to read about Rodgers. I don't know. I feel like with the McAfee show being on at the restaurant quite a bit, we do get a lot of Rodgers Steelers news there. So they kind of, take care of that for us. And I mean, I guess I'm now even realizing watching the clock that we didn't even get to the Denzel Will Smith argument that we were thinking about as well too. Again, our algorithm just flooding with Denzel versus Will Smith takes all over the place. So maybe the Friday live stream, the next live stream, we get the internet working back up right. We hopefully get the topics for the Graham stuff that we have picked out, queued up properly as well too. Maybe there is a quick hitter that we can tackle here real quick and see, pull up what's the most important one to hit non-training camp news potentially. Let's see here. What's in the vault? That was we mentioned the Brad Pitt news. Hey, yo, Chad, can we do 2 drinking alcohol themed corners in one night? We've got a Romo corner and then a Brad Pitt corner. Maybe we save that for Friday as well too. Really break down the whole situation there. Let's see, chat. We do have a lot of training camp news to get through right now. I was gonna do. I guess we did obviously have the Drake speed date situation that people were making a big deal of, and he did have this moment where this goth chick asked him to start barking for her like a dog, and he does do it. So I was gonna do a list of top 5. I guess it is what it is. Top 5, top 10 ladies that'll get us to do that. But I don't know if we can end the pod that way. So maybe we have to do that one Friday as well too. I don't know. We'll have to cook up that list. I mean, we don't have to cook up that list. That list is just in the mind. It is what it is. That's one of the few lists we don't have to. That's one of the few lists we don't have to do research for, and we can just do. Hey yo, pause. But yeah, I think we don't have to think about that one too much. It is what it is. But again, that one might have to be a clear out situation, and just see what's going on there. This new Pooh Shiesty album that people are reviewing, All Eyes on Sheesht. Hey, yo, of course, last year we had Glockavelli, All Eyes on Key. So, and not the first redo of All Eyes on Me, but we have to have at least one a year. We have to have at least one rapper a year dropping All Eyes on Me homage. So this year we have Pooh Shiesty, I guess, getting in the mix. 10 out of 10 no notes. He gets the absolute cinema meme. I guess speaking of which, the NBA schedule release was today as well too. Hey, we've been talking about training camp. I didn't even talk about the schedule. Christmas opening day dropped. I guess the rest of the games as well too. But speaking of cinema, I mean, people were making a big deal of this Christmas Day slate that we are getting here in the sports world. NFL, NBA. Hey, I didn't mean to list it in the opposite order there, because the NBA still dominates Christmas as well. But we've got five NBA games and maybe 3 NFL games. So it is going to be a fun Christmas from a sports standpoint. We're just using weird accents here at the end of the pod. I don't even know what's going on, but that's because we had the internet crash. We had to jump on later. I was like, okay, maybe we get to bed before midnight, but I was like, that might just happen anyways if we fall asleep here on the pod. But I think we stumbled into the end of this as well too. Are we gonna skip the Go Lab for tonight? We'll build a player the next time, chat. It is what it is. We'll have to catch up next time on the Friday live stream here. The typical schedule on the Rim and Sam pod is Sunday, Tuesday, Friday here live on the YouTube. Of course, you can hit us up on the podcast feeds. You can hit us up on Instagram as well too, chat. I'm trying, between the losing the voice, the getting tired. We're just, I guess, between watching 2 NBA games, we're now slurring words. It's just late at night. I'm just like, remember pod? I just fall asleep. Just okay. Good night, and we'll just fall asleep. It is what it is. So, chat, we got to get out of here while we're coherent. Hey, I feel like we gotta play like a song or something to get woken back up. The hype song. Do we just end on that? Hey, I guess we can't, because can we even say what artist produced this song, chat? I don't know. Let's just say there's been this David Bowie sample playing at work as of late.
and there is a song sampling that, or did I say David Bowie samples? See, I don't even know what words are saying anymore. There was this I guess not much different from before, but there was this David Bowie song that is being played at work that is sampled iconically in another song by an artist that his name is Diddy. Hey yo, it is what it is. The song is "Been Around the World." I don't even know the David Bowie song. "Let's Dance," obviously, is the David Bowie song. But hey yo, check the intro on that. When every time that cues up in the restaurant, it is great. And the idea of song having a little intro like that as well too, where you just have that few seconds of that da 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 da, and it's like you just have a couple that I mean that's obviously not how it sounds, but we can't play it here for copyright purposes. But you just get that few seconds to be like, oh wait, that's this song. It's queuing up right now, and then let's kind of dial in a little bit, and then been around the world, yeah yeah. Okay, is that the outro, chat? We'll see you next time. Been around the world, nah nah nah, nah nah. I'm still breathing. Oh, wait, well, we got the intro. All right, we'll see you next time, chat.